1 p.m. and I will call the meeting to order and acknowledge that all members of council are present. Before we begin, I'll state the township land acknowledgement. The township of Adjala-Tosorontio is situated on the lands within Treaty 18, being the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples, including the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi nations, collectively known as the Three Fires Confederacy. This land is home to many diverse First Nations and Inuit and Métis peoples. We acknowledge Indigenous peoples as stewards of the land, and we honor their resilience as well as their culture, and have our shared respect for the lands, plants, animals, and waterways which sustains us all. We recognize the injustices against Indigenous peoples and are mindful that the decisions of government impact our shared land and all the inhabitants. We commit to reconciliation as a journey to foster Indigenous cultural awareness and educational opportunities, establish respectful and healthy relations with Indigenous peoples, continue to steward the land and its inhabitants, and to cultivate an inclusive community for all. This evening, we did not have a closed session, so we're open session for the 6:30 start. We're at item 4 on the agenda. Are there any additions from council this evening? Seeing none. Item 5 is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation is that the agenda of the regular council meeting held on Wednesday, July 8, 2026 be adopted as presented. Mover, please. Councillor Simpson, seconded by Councillor Borzos. Any questions on the agenda? And all those in favor? And that is carried. Item 6 is disclosure of pecuniary interests. Are there any disclosures at this time? Councillor O'Leary. And the general nature thereof, Councillor O'Leary? Thank you. Any other disclosures? All right, I also have one this evening. It's within regards to item 14.4, the grants program, and the reason for the declaration is the Lyle Hall Recreation Association request for funding, and I am a director on the board of the Lyle Hall Recreation Association. All right, so we're on to item 7, adoption of the minutes. Are there any questions with regards to the minutes? Seeing none, the recommendation is that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on Wednesday, June 10, 2026 be adopted as presented. Mover, please. Councillor Cox, seconded by Deputy Mayor Laux. All those in favor? And that is carried. We are on item 8. 8.1 is presentation from Inspector Dave McLaughlin of the Nottawasaga Detachment OPP. So Inspector, if you'd like to come to the podium. And the annual report is included within our council meeting agenda, and I believe you're going to go through some of the highlights with us tonight. So welcome. Can we just make sure the green light is on the mic there, and you're all set to go.
And that's not green. Thank you very much. A little colorblind, really, yeah. So I'm sure you probably heard me. I don't know if I need to do that over again, but hopefully there we go. So, and if I can just ask to go to the message from the Township Commander page, page 2 of the, or the first portion of narrative, please. I'll touch on in one in particular, and I know that this was a concern with the township, and that was with regards to a number of arsons that we had in 2024 and 2025. You'll see on the stats towards the end, and I'll flip over to that kind of as the last portion of our evening to point out some of those things. Stats, as I'm sure we're all familiar with, tell stories. And sometimes those stories aren't obvious, so I'll fill in some of those gaps. You notice, for example, that the arsons in 2025 dropped dramatically, and I'm speaking to this township in particular because 90% of those were in this particular township area. Right, I appreciate the impact of that community and, of course, their township in a larger context. That was a significant investigation, a number of resources, largely from the OPP, both the detachment and in our Organized Crime Bureau, in addition to some of our specialist investigators. We did make one particular arrest. We've also made a second arrest just about a month ago, just after the author of the actual report itself, with a number of additional charges. So that was a large involved group. I will say, again, luckily that we have not had any since 2025. I don't see anything projected into 2026. So it was a nice win for, I think, the community itself, that particular subdivision in question, and then hopefully sending the messaging out to anyone in this area that that type of behavior, that crime is just not allowed or tolerated here. And the full extent of our investigative abilities were certainly used towards that. And before I go any further, and I digress, I'm sorry, the gentleman beside me is Sergeant Mike Ledad. Mike is our traffic supervisor, relatively new to that position. I introduced him back to the Police Services Board just a short time ago. We have a section here just on traffic that Mike will touch on as the expert in the field here. But going forward, I know that he's interacted with your staff in 2026, and just to ensure that there's a transparency in decision-making and considerations to help support the community, because again, year over year, in my almost 30 years of policing, traffic and drugs are usually the #1 complaints. And normally what I hear from counselors from the community is exactly that. Whether we can do something, I can tell you that there's certainly a collaborative approach, and I appreciate your efforts as a community, as a council, and your staff here to take that approach to it, right? Policing, as we're aware, is an expensive resource today, and so we try to employ that to the best of our ability and the best resources of our staff and the training to make that the most effective tool to mitigate, maybe not eliminate speeding, but certainly do our best to address those issues. So with that, I will speak to the commercial motor vehicle training and some of the initiatives that we did last year. Mike will tell you, if I can put him on the spot for a moment, really what that is and what the commercial motor vehicle, why that's so important to the community. When we see those complaints about dump trucks or commercial motor vehicles involved in collisions, what are some of the strategies we do to deal with that and try to address that? So Mike, in 5 minutes or less, or 30 seconds or less.
30 seconds or less.
Do you want to add that in, sir? I'd appreciate that.
One of the biggest complaints that we receive when it comes to commercial motor vehicles and dump trucks in particular is speed and them not abiding by the traffic signals or stop signs. So one of the initiatives that the detachment has taken is we have a fully certified commercial vehicle inspector now at the detachment. This fall, I've been able to secure a second spot for a second officer to go through the course, which grants us a huge resource for inspections with regards to joint inspections with the MTO and neighboring detachments and services. So I know that there's some upcoming new home builds that are going to be happening in Everett, in the Colgan area as well. So to get ahead of that curve, we're trying to state a presence now with the dump trucks, so to speak, and kind of set the narrative now so that hopefully we don't run into issues with any type of significant motor vehicle collisions or complaints, both to the township and to us in regards to it.
Thank you. Well, I've got Mike here, completely voluntary, by the way. You'll notice that on his chest we have a piece of technology. That is a body-worn camera. And I'm sure we've probably seen it on various police shows or in news, et cetera. But that's actually what the device is. That came in earlier this year. Works in conjunction with the in-car cameras. So every interaction that a police officer has on the roadside, domestic occurrence, bar fight, whatever it is captured from the officer's view and then used as disclosure for the court process. That works in a number of capacities. I mean, that ensures transparency of the officer's actions, more so than the notes of the report. Further to that, from another end that is a time-consuming portion of detachment work, is complaints and addressing complaints. The ability to be able to review that video and or what's occurred in the in-car camera can expedite that process, either to substantiate that or to disprove that and move forward very quickly. So that type of technology works with the provider of that is Axon, if you probably remember from the TASER perspective, little items on the belt here as well. That's all tied in. So when those tools are utilized, it turns the cameras on and captures that key piece of evidence. The next transition for us, and you've probably heard this in a number of different forms clearly, is AI. So how does that look in policing? Some of the things that we're on the verge of piloting, very close, is the AI that we do transcriptions now. So if you do a video interview or a video interaction, I'm having a conversation with the mayor, that is a live transcription that's created by the software. It's not perfect, but what the next step is actually taking that transcription and creating reports from it. All right, so if you start thinking, one of the things that we as in the policing environment love to do is write reports. It used to be to do a synopsis. If I had a 1-hour interview, it would take me 3 hours to do the synopsis for court, for prep for court. So now it's instantly done. And then the AI takes down a synopsis, and I know certainly in the legal industry and in consulting as well that we're catching up. We're slightly behind because the courts are also a challenge for us to ensure that they're able to do this, and we can't put forward something that's not true. So if this interpretation of the AI is incorrect, it has to be validated. So that process is coming in the next 6 months to a year that you'll see that change. And hopefully that reduces some of the hours of the officers, that allows them to do more proactive activity, more integration with the community, and gives us some real, we would call it a force multiplier in policing. So looking forward to that technological evolution. So lots going on. With regard to the drones, we're now starting to pilot a drone as a first responder. Durham Region's doing this, so is Toronto, and there's a pilot just about to start in the city of Aurelia. So essentially what occurs is the drone is notified, it goes up into the air, and it can be the first overwatch or view of the scene itself for the collision, or let's say something else. So you have eyes on while the officers are responding to it. So we're becoming very close to, it's a fascinating time and very high speeds, technologically advanced, yes. And so I probably won't see that in the next 5 years or so, but we're not far from it, right? So anyways, very exciting times. A couple of things I do want to touch on as well is the offender management apprehension program that's all started in the last year and a half or so, with the tragic deaths of 2 of our officers in the last 5 years, where offenders who were out on firearms offenses that should not have been. This is a dedicated member of the detachment that was added provincially to our detachment, software tracking, integration with the other services, updates on conditions, and regular monitoring connections of those individuals. It's not necessarily our offenders, but people live here on conditions, right? They'll come from Toronto, they'll come from somewhere else and be part of our community. So knowing that they're here, that communication piece, that technology piece also helps to mitigate hopefully any of the tragedies or reduce the amount of tragedies that happen in the province. So very excited about that position as well. We've continued to do a number of committees and groups and collaborations with other partners. We started something last year with Barrie, where we use probation and parole, other police agencies, et cetera, to look at different projects, things that are kind of, let's say, in the gray area of offender management, or we're seeing some different trends, and when you put those people in the room, that old school collaboration, but at another advanced level. So that's initiated by our folks, that's now focused out of Barrie, that again do some great work. I feel like I'm bragging a bit here, but we have a fantastic detachment, very motivated members. I'm incredibly proud to be here and to represent that group, and we're continuing to do that. So I think it serves our community very, very well. I'm doing all the talking, by the way. If you have questions so specific, or I'm happy to stop and move on to those as well. So you'll see in the summary of commitments, that is the next couple of pages that were in your package. They're relatively straightforward. I won't highlight those, but I would like to go to the stats, which are these are the combination of all 3 municipalities, but the detachment as a whole that we police. And I want to point out one in particular because, again, it's a very, page 14 of the actual report. All right, and midway through you'll see property crimes. Person crimes and property crimes, not provincially rather, but nationwide. Person crimes are usually in the 80 to 85% clearance area. So be it sexual assaults, homicides, the solve rates are quite high. Property crimes nationally are usually in the anywhere between 20 and 30%. Again, much larger sample size, very difficult to solve some of those messages, those type of property crimes. One in particular that has come up, and here's a story, when I reference a story about stats, the fraud clearance rate you'll see on this in 2025 is 9%. And what does that mean, right? Frauds are the romance scams. Those are we used to think of it as NSF checks and depositing that, or maybe some sophisticated fraud. We're actually starting to see nationally some declines in property crimes because the proliferation of frauds online is just continuing to escalate. The unfortunate part is that a lot of it's not reported, and when it is reported, there's an embarrassment factor, there's a number of challenges. So as a detachment, we piloted something for our region, and hopefully the rest of the province, where we have a specialized fraud officer to teach, educate, and be the specialist, because the technology and the skill set to even investigate is very challenging for new officers. So we're lucky to have a couple that are just fantastic, 2 detectives at our office that are very passionate about this, support our seniors community, and to address some of these we're already in 2026, you'll see, unfortunately you won't see it till later, but the board will see it as we go along as I report, a significant increase in the clearance rates for frauds. So that is a direct impact to our community, our citizens, especially our seniors that are most at risk. So very, very proud of that on the detachment end as well. Some just fantastic work. So, and that's, we've got some work to do. I'd love to say it's all great. We have some, we've got some traffic work already. We put some corrections and some other additional measures into place for traffic engagement. Speeding charges are up. We're up about 51% year over year right now. Again, you'll see that next year's annual report, but something that we saw a trend that was downward. This year, we're getting back where we should be, in my opinion, get them on track. So we're focusing on some, and it's a bit, we've got to keep an eye on everything, and sometimes you don't always focus where we need to, and we get those back in where they're on the right page. So I think you had a question, sir, or through the chair? Yeah. So.
Through the chair, you mentioned with the construction and that, and trucks and dump trucks and that speeding and whatever. What type of collaboration do you have with MTO to work towards the goals that you're working for?
Well, I'll speak to my traffic sergeant here that's got the best data on that. Mike?
So when it comes to commercial motor vehicles, two things have happened. MTO has gone on a massive hiring spree. They've hired a lot of new inspectors and enforcement officers. So that's allotted us an opportunity to work with them collaboratively. So if it was something where council was getting complaints for a certain area, and we could reach out to the MTO, set up a date where we do a targeted approach, and we can do a commercial motor vehicle inspection blitz at that time frame. Now, above and beyond that, if it's just simple, like say, speeding, not stopping on stop signs, the general enforcement officers can do that. So just the regular primary response guys, as well as my traffic unit, would engage and do that. But when it comes to the MTO, it's just, you have to set up a date with them to do it, so that their schedule's busy, because they work with Barrie, they work with Huronia West, they work with other agencies. Now, with that being said as well, we have the ability to draw from our other detachments as well. So if I wanted to set up a blitz for commercial motor vehicles, and my inspector was available, and let's say the inspector in Caledon was available as well as Dufferin, we could set up something ourselves as a detachment, just with the OPP to do that. So we've done a couple already. We've done 2 with Huronia, 1 with Essa Township, especially with the half-load season that was just coming out. They were having issues with the trucks going on the roads that way. So MTO invited us out. We went out and we did it. So Simcoe, we've done collaborations with. My goal and my intention is to not only work with MTO, but work with Barrie City Police, work with Simcoe, work with these other agencies. Because just because they are in Simcoe's area or Barrie's area doesn't mean they can't come do an enforcement action in our area, and vice versa. So it's just trying to network and reestablish those relationships that we had, that kind of, through no fault of our own, of just everybody goes their own ways and focuses on their own things. So we're just trying to bring that back. So.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome.
Different topic, but you mentioned the drones. So let's say there was an incident somewhere. How's the drone released and becomes part of the
I will give that
scenario?
So let me stress, this is very much at the pilot phase. It's very much an urban environment right now. So it's released, so for example, the ones in Durham region is on top of the roof of the OPP detachment in Whitby. Go straight up, and then there's an operator at the communications center that then directs that the heights, the clearances, et cetera, all required in compliance with the Flights Authority for Canada. It's early stages, but it's promising. I think the U.S. is a bit ahead of us in this particular aspect. I did ask about the flexibility of moving it from Aurelia to here, being the neighboring detachment to us. In certain circumstances that can be used, but on regular response, it won't be used here yet until the pilot's further on.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Leary.
When you were speaking with regards to the cameras,
Mhm.
do they pick up verbal conversations between both the officer and the individual?
Very much so. Yes, I'm not audible.
Do any of your officers sign, like?
For sign language? At the detachment, no, we don't have any ASL officers. We do have officers that are within the OPP and neighboring jurisdictions that do sign language. Are you are you asking about for the cameras and stuff like
Yeah,
that?
for the cameras,
Caught in the.
but I
video.
want to know for myself because I don't want to blurt out if I try to bribe the officer.
So, yeah. So the cameras do come
Right.
off. The cameras are removable. So if it was a
Yes.
conversation where we had to sign language with somebody, I can take this off, place it, and it will capture that conversation.
All right, thank you.
You'll see it. How would we do a demonstration? Can you turn that on?
Sure.
Okay. You'll notice there are two different colors. It goes solid, right?
So no, it'll blink red when it's on. So if you ever see us in the public and it's blinking red, the camera's active. If it's just green, it's just in standby mode. So if I were to take out, or the inspector, I should say, because he doesn't have one, if you were to take out his taser and activate it, and this was in green, this instantly goes red. So if we all had body cams, all the body cams would go red. But if I was to shut it off, it just goes green into a standby, and that's how, when we're usually in the public dealing with it, we do have like a stealth mode that we can put it on, and we use that when if we're in a situation where we don't want to advertise where we are, or if we're dealing with somebody that could potentially be in crisis and they are focused on this, and we want them to focus on the conversation that we're having to de-escalate them. We don't want to re-escalate them by using the body cams. So there's different functions with the body cams that we have.
The privacy, especially when we're in the hospital, in the bathrooms, at the stage, there has to be a mechanism for that. But so green is good, red is record.
So,
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
and no light means it's in sleep mode.
All right.
All right, are there any further questions at this time? Okay. Inspector, do you want to highlight a couple other things, or? All right.
I'm good unless there are any questions.
No, it's-
Again, just on behalf of the attachment, very thankful. Go ahead.
Certainly, Councilor Borzos.
Councilor.
Yes, through the chair, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation.
Thank
As
you.
I was reading your presentation ahead of the meeting, on page 18, you have a nice little chart that explains what the hours are, how the hours are divided.
Mhm.
And this is not so much of a question, more of a wishful request. Perhaps at some point, with the help of AI, you can switch the proactive patrol with the administrative time. So you could put the extra 8% of admin time to proactive, especially up in Everett. Thank you very much.
It's a longer conversation. I'd be happy to come back and talk to you about our service delivery model and all those different percentages. So in a very short response, you'll see a badge in the middle of that page. Those targets are North American targets, actually, that we've used and now implemented with the OPP. The administrative requirements are not really, it's not report rating, that's court, that's training, that's all sorts of things that way. So the standard goal from a staffing model is that we should be able to, 40% of your time is responding to an actual call of service, 20% is you're not on a call, but we need you to do traffic, to do community service type of related things, critically important, but that's proactive, not call response. When police agencies are overtaxed with calls, you'll see that disproportionate become all customer service. So it's quite a model. We were a pilot here, so I spent lots and lots of time on this. I know I've chatted with the board members as well on it, and happy to come back on that and or even the building. The building, when that comes up in the fall, to further questions on that or have our unit actually walk through with it. Again, quite complex. I'm just from the highlight end tonight, but certainly happy to do more afterwards. Excuse me.
Appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Meadows, question?
Yeah, I would just like to take this time to thank you for all the service that you provide to this community, and I know it's a trying time for your department right now in your areas, and again, on behalf of the communities, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Simpson?
Thank you, through the chair. And Inspector McLagan, I also want to thank you guys, thank the police force for the amazing work that you do, especially speaking on behalf of the residents of Colgan. Residents there were very worried and scared about the incidents that had occurred. So the fact that we were able to catch those guys, even in other jurisdictions, other provinces, quite laudable, quite amazing that we were able to do that. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I look forward to the new but the new age that we're moving into, right? And,
Very exciting.
And the new technology that can be utilized for our residents. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right.
All right, well, thank you, Inspector and Staff Sergeant. I do appreciate you coming in today, and as Chair of the Police Services Board, Detachment Board I should refer to now because that's what we are, I do appreciate you coming in and having this discussion with us because I think it's important that you're in the community and sharing the annual reports. And while I can, if I may, we also have the community member of our Detachment Board here with us as well. So we have Debbie Hall-Chancey in the audience with us. So I just wanted to acknowledge her and her help on the board.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so the recommendation for the presentation is that the presentation from David McLaughlin, Inspector, Detachment Commander, Nottawasaga OPP Detachment OPP regarding Nottawasaga Detachment OPP 2025 Annual Report be received. Do you have a mover for that? Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor Borzos. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, next is a presentation from Tom Pridham with R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited regarding the Concession Road 7 and Elizabeth Street Drainage Works Engineers Report Review. So, Mr. Pridham, welcome back.
Thank you,
Glad
Your
to have
Worship.
you here, and once we get that slide deck up, we can proceed with the presentation.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm glad the green light is on for me. And maybe I'm not sure how to I'll defer to Fiona here, but I appreciate the opportunity to appear before council and update you with respect to our report that was recently submitted. And I'd like to just go through quickly the overall project design, the existing conditions, the closed drain design, project cost summary, and the next steps for council. Okay, Fiona? This is the overall project design. My pointer doesn't work too good on these drawings, but on the right-hand side, you can see the open drain component in the Benek and Yakovich property. And the blue line starts at the Spring Creek drain and comes up along north, east-west, and then up the back, and then around to the chip truck at Elizabeth Street. So that's the open drain component. The closed drain component is on the left-hand side, and it's made up of various storm sewer sizes, various storm sewer sizes from 15-inch to 42-inch. Just quickly to go through the existing conditions, I think most of the council is well aware of the drainage issues that are taking place out there. This first slide that we have up there is on the 7th line, concession 7. This is the southerly crossing where the Home Hardware water heads out through and the new road. That's a 30-inch culvert that's across the road, and it was upgraded to a 30-inch, I think, in 2018, 2019, in conjunction with the development of the Home Hardware and the road. This is down on the McGowan property, looking back towards concession 7. Water's coming at us, so you can see it coming at us. Sean's well is there, and you can see the water coming through. This is where it wraps around Sean's pond. You can see it coming down, it makes the bend, and then wraps around the pond. And water keeps on going out in the McGowan property towards the back of the property. So this is what we call branch A, and just go in. This is what we call branch A, so that's, later on I'll explain that's branch A. There's a little bit of a slide, hopefully it works, or a video, Fiona. This was taken during a July 2023 storm, and I was out to have a look at it. And again, that's a 30-inch culvert under the road, and it's about half full. I almost fell in. That wouldn't be the first time. But I'm trying to make my way down just to see how much water's going through there. And this is looking back north towards the new road. And you can see the volume of water coming down through there is pretty substantial, considering there's nothing on the downstream side of the road at all. Again, sorry for the lengthy. On to the next one. This is the one by the TSE. This is where Sierra has bought that property. That's a head wall that they put in 2014. And there is a small orifice plate in that head wall to try to control flows, but it's controlling them. But really the issue is volume. Like all that impervious soil, water can't infiltrate anymore. So, in the home hardware situation, it's 7 acres of basically no infiltration. And they try to throttle it back, but it's just the volume. The volume it never gets a chance to dry out. Go on to the next one, Fiona. This is in looking at the Guerrero property, looking back towards the 7th. And you can see how poor that looks back in there. Some of that, I think, is maybe from TSE days where the fertilizer has run off and from outside storage and got trapped back in there too. Next one. This is Albert and Mary's Resnick's property, just along the edge with the garden center there. And again, you can see water is trapped in there, and it's a tough situation for those owners, that's for sure. This is a video that we took just recently. We were on site and happened to catch it when a storm went through. This is the TSE outlet. And if you see my stake, that's where the catch basin is going to go. But the orifice plate is holding flows back, but it's blowing out behind the plate. Again, an effort has been made to throttle the flows back, but it's just everything's turned to runoff. And this is looking towards the garden center there. This is a small branch that's going to be put in for Farron Investments, Pete and Frank Giamatolo. That little shed at the back has got to go, and they'll have a stub up to their corner, and they've petitioned for that. So that's branch C to our report. So looking at the closed drain design, this is the pipe network that we're proposing. And again, I don't know if I can walk over beside Tom here. It might be a little easier, if that would be okay with your worship.
Maybe Tom can show it.
Sure. That's good. The main trunk is where the staging. So if you see the staging area, Tom, right there. One of the things that's critical with a project of this nature is to get some safe spot for materials, equipment, gravel, and that type of thing. In discussions with Jim McGowan, we've decided back in there would be an excellent spot for it. Coming up from the open ditch at the back to the first manhole is a 42-inch concrete storm sewer, and that's going to be on the McGowan property, nice straight line. From there, that branch A is the red that's coming up around behind Sean's, up and across the road. So in the home hardware water, there'll be a catch basin on both sides of the road. Water will go in through that 750 or 30-inch storm sewer, and then out to the back. The other branch is called B drain, which goes up along the back, up to the Guerrero property, and then back towards the 7th, and a new road crossing back there. So that'll be, again, that'll take that where it was blowing out of that head wall. It'll take that all underground. And there's a little orange one. I don't know if Tom can reach it or not, but it's a little orange on this side, Tom. Come back a bit. Right there. Little stub there for Farron Investments as well. And The design of the system, it follows all the engineering guidelines that the municipality has. The proper slopes are there to make sure that the grades are there and there's no sedimentation in the pipe. It's been reviewed by the Conservation Authority in detail, and they've approved it. We have a permit from them, and it's ready for, as far as they're concerned, it's ready for construction. The Conservation Authority has been very supportive of the work and seeing it done. So, all this pipe too, I guess a sec, Fiona, if I can. All this pipe too is buried in what's called it's the rear yard setback or the side yard setback. So, Mr. Merrick has been very helpful in delineating the setbacks for me. Along the back, they have a 7.5 meter rear yard setback. So that setback can't be built in anyway. So the pipe would be in there. And the side yard setbacks in McGowan, same thing. There's no issue there. That's unbuildable land as it is right now. We've had an appraiser, Andrew Thompson. We've retained them to do the appraisal work for damages and allowances to the property owners, and they've come up with an allowance that's payable to each one of the owners that are directly affected. But I think that pipe network will work quite well. You know, it leaves that whole block intact, so that in the future it's intact. There's no open drains to worry about, and it'll do a real good job there. This is a typical installation detail, and typically what you see is the pipe will be rested on some granular bedding, and then backfill will be brought up to basically the spring line in the middle of the pipe, and there'll be a small sub-drain put in by the side of it. Once that's done, there's gravel put in and backfilled so that there's a foot of cover over the pipe. The native material goes back in that V that's dug, and then stripped topsoil will be put back on top. Some of the stripped topsoil here is cattails, so it might be a little bit tough to get it back on top. So I think we probably end up importing some. But we did a little project for the County of Simcoe in Everett last year, and very, very similar, a 24-inch pipe with a subdrain. And I can just, if you want to show that. Again, you can see the 24-inch pipe on the left-hand photo, and the smaller pipe in beside it. The gravel where it's sitting on, and then the other gravel and backfill. Far side, they're getting ready to set the catch basin. You see the bigger pipe, the little pipe. There's a shovel there. I don't know where the operator went, but you're not there. But next one. So they set that in. This is putting the catch basin in at the road. You can see the backfilling the catch basin, the gravel foot over the pipe. You can see back on the right-hand side, you can see the native fill going back in over the trench. So that'll go back in over the trench. Gets that all filled up. There might be some excess material to get rid of too. When it's all said and done, the hydroseed, or the topsoil goes back on, and then you hydroseed it. And then at the end, on the right-hand side, that's completed hydroseeding. And this next one, I think this is what this project will look like when we're done. This is the Guerrero property in Albert and Mary's. You can see where the TSC culvert is outletting on their property. When it's all said and done, there'll be a riprap inlet apron, catch basin, sub-drain buried underneath to dry it all up, and it'll look like that grass in front of you there now. So it'll be a tremendous improvement and tremendous help to the owners involved. And I think that's a good slide, and that's what it's going to look like when we're done. Project cost summary, again, with everything, there's a cost associated with it, and I know it's a fairly substantial project. Just to go through the cost summary, the costs are broken down into several different items. The first item there is a construction cost. That's to do the open drain work, to buy the materials, install it, the road crossing. It's about $675,000. The allowances to the property owners, again, most of that was calculated by Andrew Thompson Associates. They take the property and strip the buildings from it, figure out what it's worth per square meter as if it's vacant. I tell them how many areas or how much area is impacted, and they give me a value. And I put that value right in my report. Again, if there's any concerns regarding the amount of allowances paid, that appeal goes to the tribunal. So if someone says they didn't get enough allowances, the tribunal will listen to that. But in a case where you have a professional appraiser, it would be pretty tough to convince otherwise. The next one is the preparation of the report. That's our time to get the report to council. That's the survey, design, that work. Appraisal report by Thompson Andrews listed there. Meetings, there's a few meetings involved to get the project done. First one is the consideration of the report, and the second one is the quarter revision. And the tendering and construction, we'd make sure that the pipe went in on grade in the right location and all that stuff. Legal assistance, there's going to be some property bars that have to be relocated and replaced, so that legal help. We've had some legal help, survey help already, and there'll be more in the future. And the last one is the administration of financing, including the net HST. There's some of the HST that's not refundable, and it's included. And I've also included a $25,000 allowances for the covering the interest costs by the municipality throughout the process to get the work done. Essentially, the municipality would have an account and use that account, and there is interest can be charged to the drain. Some municipalities don't bother, some of the bigger ones don't bother, some municipalities do bother, but again, it's a municipal decision. This is the toughest part of my job. The engineering part is somewhat fun, but this is a little more tricky here. The total cost of the project is about $1.3 million. The road crossings, the two road crossings on concession 7, they stay with the municipality for the most part as what's called a special assessment, and that's spelled out in the Drainage Act. So essentially that section on the road, the roads pay for it, plus administration, less what it would normally cost just to bring the pipe across the road. So the extra gravel, the extra surface culvert, the extra catch basins, that stays with the road. And it's very, very common. That's about 9% of the cost. The municipality's costs are listed there, and that's about 35% to the roads. I can't see it too good, but the total assessment to the township roads are listed there. I think it's about 35%. So basically, you take the total cost, back off the special assessments, back off the township costs, leaves about $700,000 to be distributed as benefit and outlet to the private landowners that are involved.
How much?
There's about $700,000 to be distributed over the landowners involved. Some property owners get allowances, so they're credited back. Some property owners get a 1/3 grant, so that's credited back. So at the end of the day, the net cost by the owners in the watershed is about the same as the township share. It's about $450,000. In the report, the next one, Fiona. In the report, there's a schedule called the construction assessment schedule. And essentially, this construction schedule lists the owners, and it lists 3 items: injury and liability, benefit assessment, and outlet liability. And each property has a total assessment to them. And on the very right-hand side is something we typically, we don't do a lot, but in this particular case, because the area isn't familiar with municipal drains, we've added in red how to arrive at the net cost. So you take the total, you back off any allowances, or you back off any grants, and gives you the total on the very far side. And as you can see, the first 4 properties there, the Home Hardware, TSC, the New Road, they're in the $400,000 range. They're the big pairs on the project, besides the municipality. Some of the smaller properties where the drain is going through, after the allowances are credited back to them, they range from $1,000 to $6,000 for the ones that are directly impacted up the Guerrero property in Albert and Mary's. But that's because the allowances are credited back to them. And so that's how it all works out. In order to do this, we broke the drain down into 8 sections. We assessed it out in accordance with the Drainage Act. I brought in a friend of mine who has done drainage reports for about 50 years and collaborated with him and satisfied that what we came up with is defendable. Should appeals be filed with the Court of Revision or the tribunal. The next steps in the process, I think the first two have already been done. We had a site meeting, information meeting a couple of Saturdays ago. Councilor Meadows was in attendance and greatly appreciated your time to attend, Bob. We've filed a report with council. Tonight is July 8th, and the engineer reviews the report with council, sort of what we're doing now, and the date for the consideration of the report set is in Tom Darlow's council report. There's recommendations contained within that to set the consideration. Once that's done, the reports are mailed to everyone, and the first order of the process is called the consideration of the report. So essentially, again, I review the report, questions from the owners, questions from council. At that point in time, council is the petitioner, and at that point in time, the consideration of the report is when to add and withdraw from the petition. So if council doesn't wish to proceed, the names will be withdrawn and the project terminated. Farron Investments, likewise, if they don't want to carry on with that stub drain, they can take their name off and that stub drain will be deleted. The consideration of the report is basically to add and subtract from the petition. That's what it's there for. The next one, typically at that meeting, the bylaw will be given first and second reading, and the date set for what's called the Court of Revision. The Court of Revision is maybe I got it outlined a little better later on, but it deals with assessment appeals. So if someone's concerned with their cost towards the project, they may appeal to the Court of Revision, and typically the Court of Revision would be made up of members of council, 3 or 5 members of council, and sitting as the Court of Revision. So if someone feels they're assessed too much, they may appeal. The court can adjust it. They can put it, if they want to put it on somebody else privately, like a private landowner, we'd have to adjourn so that other owner can be notified. But that's the process. The Court of Revision is my bylaw mailed, the Court of Revision held. Just go to the next one, please, Fiona. These are the appeals under the Drainage Act that I was talking about. That first bullet is the Court of Revision. So when the engineer's report is completed, any property owner can appeal their assessment to the Court of Revision, and that's typically members of council. The Ontario Agriculture and Drainage Appeal Tribunal, if someone who is appeals and says, and the court says, no, I think that looks reasonable, they may appeal further to what's known as the Ontario Drainage Tribunal. And I don't know, if, Your Worship, if you recall Glencairn, there was a few appeals that were denied at the tribunal and denied at the Court of Revision and sort of heard by the tribunal again and further denied. I say, the tribunal also has the authority to deal with the design. If someone has concerns about the design, they appeal directly to the tribunal. It doesn't go to the Court of Revision. If someone has concerns with respect to allowances, that goes right to the tribunal as well. So there's appeal opportunities available to everyone. One of the things I thought I would point out, and there was Brent brought it up as well. In the Glencairn, when that provisional bylaw comes to council, payment terms will need to be specified in that bylaw. And in the Glencairn bylaw, I'll let council read it. It's that all assessments in the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio shall be collected upon the completion of the drainage works in the following manner. Assessments in the amount of $500 and under shall be due and payable within 60 days of the mailing of the notice. For assessments greater than 500, the first 500 is due and payable within 60 days of the mailing of the notice, and the balance may be amortized over a 5-year term at the current interest rate. This is what was provided in the Glencairn bylaw, and I think the owners have greatly appreciated it. And I would respectfully suggest to council that payment terms similar to this be included. Thank you. That feels better, John. That payment terms similar to this be also included in the bylaw. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. This work out here is urgently needed. I'm fairly new to this project, but I mean, I've been in those backyards and stomping around, and this project is needed in the worst way back in there. Our design incorporates the open drain at the back and doesn't damage that open field or the open farm. It stays around the back. The pipe network leaves that entire area intact, and I think it'll look great when we're done. The design has been reviewed and approved by the NVCA and a permit issued. The design also provides a direct legal outlet for the majority of the owners there. Those owners have the opportunity with a pipe in that setback. If it's ever redeveloped and there's something, any developer needs a storm drainage outlet, it's readily available. So that adds to the property value right there. And I think the Drainage Act has an established process, and we need to follow that process. And once the process is finished, the work will be constructed and the relief provided to the owners. Very similar to Glencairn, where it took a bit of time to get through. Once it got through and got built, the owners are now protected from the external water coming down and flooding the hamlet. At the end of the process, the much needed work will be implemented, and it's my sincere hope to see it through. It'll not only fix the current problems that are out there, but I think going forward, it gives an opportunity for everybody to develop in an orderly manner and have a proper storm drainage outlet. And the problems that we have now can hopefully be avoided in the future. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pridham. I understand you're sticking around for the staff report as well. Yes. So I'm going to park any questions and comments at this moment for the staff report, if you're going to be available for questions.
Yep.
So we can move on with the remainder of the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a recommendation to receive the presentation, so that the presentation from Tom Pridham, Drainage Engineer R.J. Burnside and Associates Limited regarding Concession Road 7 and Elizabeth Street Drainage Works Engineer Report review be received. And do I have a mover for that? Councillor Simpson, seconder, Deputy Mayor Laux. And all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, we're on to item 9, which is deputations. We have 2 deputations this evening. The first deputation is from Diane Porteous, President, CFUW Arroyo, regarding intimate partner violence. So Diane, welcome to Adjala-Tosorontio. We appreciate you coming in and your patience this evening. And I see several members of your wearing purple this evening. I forgot that we're purple. But welcome, and we'll get the slide deck up momentarily for you, and you can proceed.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Good evening to you and to members of council. Thank you for asking us to make this presentation today on intimate partner violence and why it needs to be declared an epidemic. I am speaking on behalf of CFUW Aurelia in my role as president. CFUW Aurelia has over 120 members and is part of a national organization of more than 6,700 members across Canada, with Ontario members being almost 70% of that total. We are a women's organization that believes in education, advocacy, and equality. As you referenced, we do have many of our members here tonight in the gallery, as well as some other supporters, and they are wearing, you'll notice they are wearing purple, which worldwide is recognized to represent courage, survival, and honors survivors and recognizes the victims of intimate partner violence. Next slide, please. Today we're asking council to declare intimate partner violence an epidemic in the township. 120 municipalities across Ontario have already made taken this step. As you're probably aware, the county of Simcoe has made this declaration, as well as many municipalities within the county, including Clearview, Bradford, West Gwillimbury, Romero, Oro-Medonte, Severn, Tiny, as well as the cities of Barrie, Midland, and Orillia. Midland and Tiny just made the declaration last week, actually. The leadership of these municipalities is sparking a movement outside their jurisdictions. Romero did send communications about the declaration to all Ontario municipalities, and as a result, they had a letter of support back from Douro Doomer announcing that they had made the declaration. This is an important example of the power of your voices. A declaration does not require a financial commitment from the township. Rather, it recognizes the seriousness of the issue, raises awareness, and supports the organizations working directly with victims and families. It also amplifies the needs that should be detailed through each municipality's community safety and well-being plans. Next slide, please. All of the delegations we've completed to date have been in partnership with Orillia's Green Haven Shelter for Women. We're also grateful for the support of North Simcoe Victim Services, Biminagwasagan Regional Aboriginal Women's Circle, which is otherwise known as BROC, the Ontario Association of Interval and Transition Houses, the Lighthouse in Orillia, Simcoe and Area Women's Institute, CFUW Barrie, Women and Children's Shelter of Barrie, Alliston's My Sister's Place, Collingwood's My Friend's House, and Huronia Transition Homes in Midland. Today we have with us Debbie Harrington, who is Executive Director of My Sister's Place in Alliston. To understand why this declaration matters, it's important to briefly look at the broader context of violence against women in Canada. Next slide, please. December 6, 1989 remains one of the most tragic events in Canadian history. 14 women were murdered at Montreal's École Polytechnique simply because they were women. This event forced Canada to confront the reality of violence against women and led to the creation in 1991 of the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. While this tragedy occurred decades ago, violence against women does continue today, including in our own communities. Gender-based violence can take many forms, including intimate partner violence. Next slide, please. It's important for us to look at these two terms. Gender-based violence refers to violence that is rooted in gender inequality and power imbalance. It includes many forms of abuse, including harassment, sexual violence, coercive control, and exploitation. One of the most common forms of gender-based violence is intimate partner violence. If IPV can occur in both opposite sex and same-sex relationships. It is not gender neutral, but most victims are female and 91% of the perpetrators are men. A particularly dangerous form of IPV is coercive control, which involves patterns of intimidation and manipulation used to control a partner, including using threats to pets and children. Research consistently shows that coercive control is one of the strongest predicators of femicide. Next slide, please. Now I'd like to share some startling statistics. All our statistics are fully supported by research and are available. Our complete bibliography is available as the last page of this presentation. The first fact, that 33% of Canadian women have been sexually assaulted, equals 4.7 million women. And the numbers just go up. 44% have experienced IPV, higher again for Indigenous women, higher again for those who are gender diverse. For women who live in rural communities, much like Adjala-Tosorontio, leaving an abusive relation can be difficult. Isolation, limited transportation, lack of childcare, and housing shortages all create barriers to safety. There's also the challenge that everyone knows everyone else, and that can make reporting very difficult. Next slide, please. In 2015, 3 women in Ontario's Renfrew County were murdered by a former partner. In 2022, the CKW inquest, as it was called, based on the last initials of the 3 victims, was hailed by experts as a gift of solutions, producing 86 recommendations to improve responses to intimate partner violence. You may also have heard of it called the Renfrew County Inquest. The first recommendation out of that inquest was that the Government of Ontario should formally declare IPV an epidemic. To date, the province has failed to do so, but municipalities across Ontario have begun to act. In rejecting to call out IPV as an epidemic, the Ontario government says epidemic refers only to an infectious disease, which we do not agree with. I'll now share some statistics from OPP, North Simcoe Victim Services, and Area Violence Against Women agencies. Next slide, please. In the Ontario Provincial Police 2024 report, it showed that in 2024 there was an 18% increase in intimate partner violence victims compared to the previous year. We do not as yet have a 2025 report, so unfortunately I cannot update that statistic, but I do not believe it's gone down by any stretch. The OPP has introduced the role of detachment abuse investigators who confirm that IPV rates in our region exceed the provincial average. Locally, IPV is grouped within a broader mental health statistics, and so true statistics are not necessarily available at a detachment level. I may be wrong at that. I think that's being changed at the moment, but I'm not certain of that. It's also estimated that 80% of those experiencing IPV do not report it to the police due to belief that it's a private matter, feeling that it's not serious, fear of stigma, or just a lack of trust in the justice system. And I just wanted to add that I noticed in the OPP report that was presented earlier that they have a strong commitment to collaborate with local agencies on dealing with IPV matters. So that was very encouraging. Next slide, please. North Simcoe Victim Services, which does serve the Orillia area, Ramara, or Dante and Severn, is also showing a significant increase in calls related to IPV, 64% increase from 2023 to 2025. And as already stated, approximately 4 out of 5 victims do not report, meaning the numbers are significantly higher. Simcoe Victim Services, which provides support in the rest of Simcoe County, states that IPV is consistently the highest number of calls that they field each year. Next slide, please. These are some statistics from many of the violence against women agencies that operate in the county of Simcoe. I have added the statistics from My Sister's Place, which serves Alliston and surrounding area. I would draw your attention to the first number, 12,870 crisis calls from women in Simcoe County, and 1,472 to My Sister's Place. The referral number is a total of only 3 of the community agencies that are tracked in these numbers. They were the only ones that are tracking referrals, but the numbers are still significant. Next slide, please. The Canadian federal government has acknowledged that IPV is an epidemic, follows calls to treat IPV as a widespread, non-communicable crisis requiring urgent social-wide action. The AMO, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, has also made the declaration, and they state that municipal governments are key partners in responding to issues of intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, and violence against Indigenous women. Next slide, please. This map of Ontario shows those communities and municipalities that have already declared intimate partner violence as an epidemic. There are now 120, which represent over 70% of the Ontario population. But we feel that as more and more municipalities declare this as an epidemic, the people of Ontario are putting pressure on the province to act. Next slide, please. This is a map we presented to the county of Simcoe. The blue dots represent the municipalities within Simcoe County that have declared. As I mentioned, since we made our presentation at the county, Midland and Tiny Township have added their names to the list, and we are also making a presentation to Wasaga Beach next week. There are a couple of municipalities within here that have supported other people's or other agencies' declarations, but we feel it's important for each municipality to make their own declaration. Next slide, please. The statistics tell the story. For every statistic on this, in this presentation, there are countless more survivors who are not safe in their homes, not safe in their jobs or in their communities. Declarations send a strong message emphasizing the need to move IPV into the area of public health, which would secure resource allocation and sustainable funding for those organizations that support victims, survivors, and their families. By making a declaration, the township can join the growing number of municipalities and regions in demanding action from all levels of government to address this epidemic. With this declaration, you would be joining advocates at 120 other municipalities from across the province. The concept is meant to shine a light on the issue and drive governments to action. In the words of Brock Executive Director Candace Hawk, by supporting this initiative, it would demonstrate to victims that community leaders recognize this epidemic and are aiming to reduce the stigma associated with victims leaving violent relationships. A declaration as such would make significant steps in raising awareness of the ongoing need for resources and supports to be made available for the community. Next slide, please. Sorry, I got the page turned over. As our letter of support from Kim Shaw, Executive Director of North Simcoe Victim Services, states, we wholeheartedly support the initiative advocated by CFUW Aurelia to declare intimate partner violence a crisis in our region. Our statistics alone for calls for support for victims of intimate partner violence have increased 64% from 2023 to 2025. Those in abusive relationships can feel hopeless and isolated, but a declaration of IPV as an epidemic can help change that. Next slide, please. So our request to the township, as noted at the beginning, is to pass a formal motion declaring IPV as an epidemic and to ask the province of Ontario to make the same declaration. This declaration would demonstrate leadership, raise awareness, and support frontline organizations in your community. It would also align the township with municipalities across Ontario recognizing the urgency of this issue. Such a declaration sends a powerful message. Survivors are seen, they matter, and they are not alone, and there is no cost to this action. We would be pleased to offer any advocacy suggestions and work along staff to support next steps. Thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, well, thank you very much, Ms. Porteous, for coming in and giving that presentation. And you are certainly making the rounds, and I commend you and all the other individuals who go out to these council chambers and for lack of a better word, rally councils and municipalities to look at passing a resolution for this. So I do appreciate that. I will open the floor to questions from council. Councillor Meadows.
Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate your presentation. Very insightful.
Yeah.
I was some of the statistics really shocked me, but what can you tell me is the main root cause of this? Is it cultural? Is it drug addiction? Is it a combination of just everything now? Because these stats are overwhelming.
They are, and as I said, they're not getting any better. I don't know if you're aware, but there was yet another incident of intimate partner violence last week in Barrie, or 2 weeks ago in Barrie, where there was a murder-suicide of a husband and wife. I think I'd say it's probably more cultural than anything in terms of just attitudes. I think the real solution is education. That people should all be treated fairly and appropriately, but I'm sure there's lots of factors in terms of drug addictions and drug abuse and financial stress and the stress of having gone through COVID and all those kinds of things. The current economic environment is not helping, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, I was actually very surprised in the LGBTQ community, the number of, like, the stats there, like, they were just, that really surprised me.
Yes.
It really did. So, yeah, I don't know what the solution is, and I know you've done a lot of hard work, and I really appreciate everything that you guys have done.
Well, we're hoping
over the
that
years.
part of the solution is getting the province to declare, and so that can hopefully allow for some more resources to be available to combat it. But at the end of the day, the biggest issue, I think, is just education and upbringing.
And supplemental, how many people are in your organization?
In CFUW area, there's 120, we have over 120 members. Across Canada, there's 6,700, and about 70% of those are in Ontario-based clubs. There's a number of clubs around Ontario in different locations.
That's incredible. Anyways, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson?
Thank you, through the chair. Ms. Porteous, thank you for your presentation. As Councillor Meadows stated, those statistics are quite worrying. And I'm also seeing, year over year, those incidences continue to grow. So more work needs to be done. With regard to your request, are you also looking to see Bill 55 moving forward? Because I understand that that's part of the ask generally, because that's the one that's the bill that asks the province to recognize
recognize, yes.
IPV, right?
Right, which so far they're refusing to do.
Which they're refusing, and is that part of the ask as well, that that bill be accepted?
Part of the ask is to make a request of the province to make that declaration, and yes, effectively pass that bill, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm in support of it generally. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, thank you very much
All right,
again for
thank
coming
you.
in. So council, I do have a prepared resolution here. First would be that the deputation from Diane Porteous, President, CFU Aurelia, regarding intimate partner violence be received. And whereas more than 4 in 10 Canadian women have experienced some form of intimate partner violence in their lifetime, and 1 in 10 experience it almost daily. And whereas the Ontario Provincial Police have determined that in 2024, there was an 18% increase in intimate partner violence victims compared to 2023. And whereas North Simcoe Victim Services has had an increase in calls of 64% between 2023 and 2025. And whereas My Sister's Place, which serves Alliston and surrounding area, received more than 1,432 crisis calls in 2025. And whereas the risk of intimate partner violence is 75% higher in rural communities like Adjala-Tosorontio. Now therefore be resolved that Council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio declares intimate partner violence as an epidemic, and further that the Council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio request other municipalities in the County of Simcoe and surrounding areas to declare if they have not already done so. And further that Council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio requests the Province of Ontario to declare intimate partner violence as an epidemic. And further, that a copy of the resolution be sent to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and all County of Simcoe municipalities. Mover, please. Deputy Mayor Locks. Seconder, please. Councillor O'Leary. All those in favour? And that is carried. Thank you again, and Ms. Harrington, thank you very much for coming in, and we did receive that letter as well that clerk circulated yesterday from My Sister's Place, so we do appreciate that supporting material. All right, we're at 9.2, so the deputation from Dr. Lodi at 3531 Concession Road 7. You'd like to come to the podium? Yeah, you get to the podium.
Good evening, Mayor Anderson and member of the council. and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Naimul Lodi. Together with my wife, Lily Lodi, we are building our permanent family residence in 3531 Concession Road 7. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. We respectfully request the Council for the approval of a permit of a standard height front fence rather than current, 3-foot height permitted under the township fencing bylaw. This request is based on a unique characteristics of our rural property and on an important consideration of safety, security, and compatibility with the surrounding areas. Our property is approximately 5 acres and is very different from typical residential lot. It contains 2 natural ponds, a creek that runs through the property, and mature tree and open land. The residence itself is located distant from the municipal road and accessed by a long private driveway. One of the principal reasons for requesting a standard height fence is safety. The property already contains 2 open ponds and a natural creek. This water feature cannot be realistically fenced. A standard height fence will establish a clear property boundary and discourage unauthorized access by the pedestrian, children, and visitors who may unknowingly enter the property. During the winter month, the pond freezes, and on several occasions we have observed people entering the property and using the frozen pond as a skating area. They clear it out, and while we appreciate that they may not realize the danger, the ice thickness can vary significantly, and there is a real risk of serious injury. This experience reinforced our belief that more effective front fence is an important safety measure to discourage unauthorized entry to the property. The purpose of the fence is important for security because the residence is located well back from the road. The entrance gate and front fence serve as the first line of protection for our family, visitors, and contractors. 3-foot fence provides very little practical deterrence or definition of the property boundary, whereas a standard height fence clearly identifies private property and improves security. We are not requesting for an unusual high or industrial style fence. We are simply requesting an approval of a normal residential height front fence that is commonly found in rural estate properties throughout Ontario. The fence has been carefully designed to complement the architecture of the home and preserve the rural characteristic of the township. We respectfully submit that given the size of the property and the long setback from the road, the presence of 2 ponds and natural creek, and our experience with the unauthorized access during the winter, a standard height fence is both reasonable and appropriate. I therefore respectfully request the Council to approve the request. Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I understand from my notes here that you're looking at a 6-foot fence?
Yeah, maybe 5, 6.
You're nothing higher than 6?
No. It's
Okay,
standard.
just wanted to confirm that for sure. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council with regards to this? Councillor Simpson?
Thank you, through the chair. Dr. Lodi, what kind of fence is it? What is the material that it's going to be made
Well,
out
we
of?
haven't decided, but the architectural presentation which I saw, it's maybe, the wooden or composite fence,
Okay.
whatever, because we're trying to build a very unique, it's a little bit a modern house, and so it will be in lieu with that. Nothing extraordinary, nothing.
Okay. Is it going to restrict all view into the property?
No.
No.
So far, there are you can see the property. Yeah.
Okay.
The whole idea is just for a deterrent,
Okay, thank you. Generally, I'm in favor. I know that in other areas of the municipality, this council has approved fences generally. and I'm in favor of it as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Cox?
Yeah, through the chair to the doctor, I have zero concerns.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Meadows?
Could we put a motion forward at this time,
I
Your
kind
Worship?
of have one here.
Oh, you got one
I
there?
do, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks.
And no other questions?
None?
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the motion would be that the deputation from Namal Lodi 3531, Concession Road 7, Adjala, regarding request for exemption to bylaw 0540, fencing bylaw, be received, and that the property municipally known as 3531 Concession Road 7, Adjala, be exempt from Section 4A of bylaw 0540 as amended to permit the construction of a non-wire fence along the public highway to a maximum height of 6 feet, and that the fencing material be approved by the building department, and that prior to the construction of such a fence, a site visit be completed by the building department. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Meadows, second by Councillor O'Leary. Any further questions on that resolution? And all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, we're on to item 9.3, which is deputation from Sean Evans, Deputy Director of DARE Canada, and I also have Harry Lawrenson. So, sir, if you'd like to come up, you certainly you can share in some of the limelight here.
Mayor Anderson, members of council and staff, thank you for allowing us 10 minutes to address you. My name is Sean Evans. I am the Volunteer Deputy Director for DARE Canada, and as you've pointed out, with me is Harry Lawrenson, the National Volunteer Director for DARE Canada. If it's not obvious from the haircut compared to your first two presenters, we are retired OPP officers. Harry kept his hair, the rest of us did not. But between Harry and myself, we have a combined 43 years of service with the Nottawasaga OPP detachment, serving the municipalities of Adjala-Tosorontio, Essa, and New Tecumseh. Harry and I and myself combined over 25 years have delivered the DARE program to approximately 26,000 students in the Nottawasaga OPP catchment area, 3,000 of those students calling Adjala-Tosorontio home from the 4 schools located within your municipality. So very briefly, what is DARE? DARE is a 10-week, 10-hour program delivered to elementary schools by certified police officers, primarily grade 6 students. It's largely considered a drug prevention program, although it is so much more. It's a skill-based program where students learn to make responsible choices for health and safe and healthy lifestyles. Over the 10 weeks, they learn a series of skills relating to decision-making, problem-solving. They learn facts and health effects about common drugs that affect grade 6 students, vaping, tobacco, alcohol, marijuana. They learn about risk and consequence, peer pressure, stress, communication skills, bullying, being good citizens, and ultimately who they can turn to when they need help. It culminates with an essay that the graduates complete based on a description of what they've learned in the program, and a graduation which is largely attended by family members of the graduating students to celebrate their success. DARE is an evidence-based program. It's been peer-reviewed in a 3-year study by the University of North Carolina, and bottom line, it's been proven to be effective. Since retiring from the OPP, Harry and myself have volunteered running DARE Canada, and along with a small training team, we are responsible for training of Canadian police officers and Indigenous police officers in what we call the DARE officer training. And to be frank, what makes DARE special and sets it apart from other programs of this nature is the DARE officer training. It is mandatory. There's no other program like it. The candidates that attend the training spend 80 intensive hours over 2 weeks, plus an additional probably 30 to 35 hours during the evening, sort of enhancing and learning what we've talked about during the day. They spend the most part of the first week with an educator, so a certified teacher, who spends a great deal of time breaking down this, being the police officer at the front of the room and lecturing students and turning them into the facilitative instructor. They learn about different learning modalities and how students learn. The second week ends with the students and their mentor actually going out to a grade 6 elementary class locally where they have to deliver one of the lessons. It's a 45-minute to 1 hour lesson, which kind of wraps up their training. It's very exciting for the students and very exciting for the police officers. And at the end, we have a little graduation for the police officer graduates, and they take what they've learned back to their communities and they continue to deliver this program to their elementary students. DARE Canada is run by volunteers. We have a very limited revenue stream, primarily, which is a few very generous donors who for years have recognized the benefits and value in the DARE program. We use that limited revenue to essentially offset our training costs. They don't go to provide salaries and things like that. So why are we here today? So over the past several years, DARE Canada has been working with Indigenous police leadership to get Indigenous police officers DARE certified to bring this program back to their communities. The request from Indigenous communities for the DARE program has been robust, and DARE Canada has done its best to continue to meet the needs. Over the past couple of years, DARE Canada has run 5 Indigenous training courses in 3 different locations and certified a couple of dozen officers to take these programs back to their communities. We are very excited to announce that we've organized a very special DARE officer training that will run from September 14th to September 24th, Monday to Friday. We have signed a rental agreement with the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio to utilize your beautiful public room in this building as sort of our home-based classroom. We will have officers attending from the Anishinaabe-Aski Police Service, as well as a number of Indigenous communities who have policing services agreements through the OPP-administered Ontario First Nations Policing Agreement. We have a very robust training team. Harry will be the mentor, the facilitator. I will be a mentor. We have an OPP sergeant attending for 2 weeks who will also be a mentor. We have a retired Timmins police officer who is now a director at Northern College in Timmins, who will be a director. And most exciting, we have a former teacher, now sergeant with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, who has 3 university degrees. She's one of the best educators I've ever seen, and she will be coming for the first week to deliver the education component to our candidates. What makes this DOT special outside of other ones we've run is that DARE Canada will be funding the meals, the accommodations, training material costs for the 10 officers to attend this DOT. What's significant about this is it allows these police officers to attend who might not otherwise have access to funding because they come from very small communities, very small police services. Our request to council, to staff, and the residents of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio is we would like to partner with you. So DARE Canada would like to partner with the residents of Adjala-Tosorontio and the 10 Indigenous communities from which these officers are coming, and we're requesting that council waive the rental fee for this special DARE officer training in September. This will greatly assist DARE Canada in financially delivering the DOT to the 10 Indigenous communities. To conclude, on the 24th of September 2026, at the conclusion of the DARE officer training, we will be hosting a small graduation for the Indigenous police officer candidates who are graduating, and we would love to have any members of staff or council attend that very short ceremony to cheer these officers on as they return to their communities to deliver this very important program. So that concludes our presentation, and subject to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. I don't believe you're going to see any opposition here from us, so we
DARE students?
we certainly respect what you do teach. So there very well might be a few DARE students in here. So
Yes, there is, for example.
yeah. Were there any questions from council? Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. So the recommendation would be that the deputation from Sean Evans, Deputy Director of DARE Canada, regarding request for exemption to bylaw 2025-056, fees and charges bylaw, be received, and that that council permit the exemption to bylaw 2025-056 to waive the public room rental fees for the use by DARE Canada from September 14 to 18th and September 21st to 24, 2026, and that a completed facility rental agreement and proof of insurance meeting township standards be provided to the township prior to the event. Mover for that, Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor Simpson. All those in favor? And that is carried. So that takes us on to item 10, which is public meeting. We have one public meeting this evening with regards to 7759 30 Side Road, Adjala-Tosorontio. So I now declare this portion of the council meeting to be a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act to deal with proposed zoning bylaw amendment 7759 30 Side Road at 8:01 p.m. Prior to receiving public comments, we will provide the applicant or their agent an opportunity for a brief presentation of the application. I understand the owners may be with us as well, and I believe we have Ms. Tang online from for a planner. So Ms. Tang, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bonnie Tang. I am a planner at Thorstone Consulting Services. I am here tonight on behalf of the property owners of 7759 30th Side Road to present the zoning bylaw amendment application. I see that the clerk has already put my slides up on the screen. Thank you for that. Next slide, please. So this property is an existing rural residential property that's located in a residential cluster to the east of the municipal office. The property fronts onto 30th Side Road and has a lot area of approximately 1.3 acres. The property does contain an existing residential dwelling as well as a cabana. And although the air photo doesn't show, there is a garage that has been substantially built just south of the existing driveway. Next slide, please. A previous minor variance application was submitted for a garage structure with a residential apartment connected by a breezeway to the existing residential dwelling, and that was approved in July of 2025. The minor variance approval permitted a reduced side yard setback of 9 meters and an increased lot coverage of 13%. The property owners then realized that the breezeway would cut off the refilling for their oil tanks, and therefore they are now proposing to construct the garage structure without a breezeway. It is also important to note that an additional dwelling unit was always proposed in this new structure through the approved minor variance application. However, because the garage is now a detached structure, since it's not connected to the house by a breezeway, a zoning bylaw amendment is required to permit the additional dwelling unit in the detached structure. Next slide, please. This mapping figure just provides context as to the existing zoning of the subject property. As you can see to the left, the property is zoned as rural residential, which is the same as the other residential properties in this small cluster. Next slide, please. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is requested to redesignate the property from rural residential to a site-specific rural residential zone. We are requesting 2 site-specific provisions, which are to permit the additional dwelling unit in a detached structure, as well as to permit a maximum gross floor area of 2,325 square feet for the accessory building. Next slide, please. This slide provides the best context as to what the only difference between the plan that was proposed with the minor variance application versus what's being proposed today with the zoning bylaw amendment application here tonight. As noted earlier, the minor variance application proposed an enclosed breezeway, which would connect the 2-story garage with a residential apartment to the main house. And to the figure to the right, we are now proposing a 2-story garage, still with a residential apartment, but we are no longer proposing a breezeway. Next slide, please. We have reviewed all of the applicable policies and can confirm that the proposed additional dwelling unit conforms to the PPS, the upper tier, and township, both current and adopted official plan policies. The township zoning bylaw only permits an accessory dwelling unit within the principal dwelling and not a detached structure, which is why a zoning bylaw amendment application is required. The proposal is consistent with the province's direction of providing more housing, and the overall scale, massing, function of the garage structure remains substantially unchanged from the development that was previously reviewed through the minor variance and building permit processes. Next slide, please. The proposed additional dwelling unit continues to remain subordinate and accessory in terms of size and scale. And the proposed additional dwelling unit represents appropriate land use planning, is compatible with the surrounding area, and constitutes good planning. We look forward to addressing any concern from the public and council, and the property owners are also in attendance in person tonight and can answer any relevant questions as necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tang. Any person may attend the public meeting or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please note all names and addresses will become part of the public record and will be included within the minutes of council. Are there any persons that wish to provide comment in support of or against the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? If so, please queue at the podium, and when it's your turn to provide comments, please state your name and full mailing address for the record prior to proceeding with your comments. Are there any persons wishing to speak for or against this application? Seeing none. Madam Clerk, did we receive any comments in writing?
Thank you, Your Worship. We did not receive any comments in writing.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from council members to the applicant, planner, or township staff? And Councillor Simpson.
Through the chair, I noticed that there was one of the slides that had an overview of the property, and there was a structure or some sort of plan in front of the main building. Is that the septic bed? Okay. That was not in our report. So generally, I would say that I'm in support of ARUs, and what is being proposed is consistent with the draft official plan that the municipalities put forward, and I have no objection to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, seeing none. So I now declare this public meeting closed at 8:08 p.m. Ms. Tang, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, council members.
So the recommendation is that staff report PLA 2026-010 dated July 8, 2026 regarding 7759 30 Side Road, Adjala-Tosorontio proposed zoning bylaw amendment be received. Just confirming it is on Adjala, right? Side. That staff be directed to consider all public and agency input as well as council comments and a further planning analysis to be set out in a planning report and recommendation to be brought to council at a future date. Do I have that moved by Councillor O'Leary, seconded by Councillor Cox? Any further questions or comments on the resolution? All those in favor? And that is carried. We are now at item 11, which is public comment. Members of the public may request their comments to be read by the clerk or present their comments orally. Only public comments related to an item on the agenda listed as staff reports, correspondence, or bylaws will be read. Members of the public wishing to submit public comments can do so in writing to our clerk no later than 12 noon on the day of the meeting. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to provide their comments? And if so, please raise your hand. Once called upon, please proceed to the podium. Ms. Alchancy, please. Sorry, Debbie, can we just turn the mic on? It is on. Okay, we'll get that for you. There we go. Thank you.
It is on. My name is Deborah Hall-Chancey. I reside at 16 Lynch Lane in Everett. 13.2, the MNR June 15th, 2026 update regarding certain operational policies under the Aggregates Resource Act. The ministry proposal to update aggregate policies is a noble one, but in doing so, it rescinds 28 existing ones. Weakens, in my opinion, the long-standing checks and balances that protects Ontario's water, leading one to believe that the provincial takeover of water and wastewater is imminent. You will be discussing, I'm sure, tonight, if one of council members decides to pull the report, by removing public consultation, safety buffers, and water impact studies is just a few of these changes being proposed. Our community needed the township's voice to make impact on how this should be updated. When I went to the site for the Ontario government, the open public comment was August 8th, 2025, right through until September 25th, 2025. I viewed 53 comments that were received, and not one of them was from our township. Municipalities such as Peel Region, Mulmer, Climate Action Newmarket Aurora, Concerned Citizens of Ramera, AMO, Springwater Green Coalition, and Gravel Watch all made their comments known. When it comes to the water report, the proposed policy does not adequately address the combined water impacts from the multiple nearby aggregate operations. Cumulative impact assessment, especially in vulnerable areas, is needed, something this report does not address. Just as Mulmer stated, the main rivers, the Pine, the Boyne, and their corresponding creeks are at severe risk of runoff from aggregate sites and has the potential to increase the temperature of these water bodies, negatively impacting them. Just as I report every year to Canada Fisheries and then MNR, the breach that happens at the northeastern corner of our Alliston gravel pit on County Road 13, and I have videos of this, the breach occurs and it's never corrected due to the lack of complete berm around the perimeter of the pond that was created due to the extraction. This community, past council, spent an enormous amount of time protecting our neighbors, our residents, and more importantly, our water, and those on the rural properties that have their own well system. My question to all of you tonight is, why did our municipality choose to be silent on this update, and unlike our neighbors to the south, north, and west of us that have? You have many items on your agenda tonight that will impact our community as we go forward, which leads me to the next item, which is IND 2026-15, which is EWA for Concession Road 6. Page 3 of 48 states that the new wastewater treatment plant is intended to accommodate servicing for subject to planning approvals. Existing underserviced residents, Everett secondary boundary, and I will have you know, if you're not already familiar with that, but there was a bylaw put into place back on the last term of council when I was a part of that, and it was passed, and it was supported by council and residents still, and it still stands today. This statement tonight should be removed from that agreement. Then the other potential item that's on there on page 3 of 48, there's a bullet saying possible West Everett development and future development pending available funding. This statement opens up a bigger conversation as to why this council would put in these words on this agreement when, quite frankly, you also stated that future operating maintenance and life cycle costs will be included in future water and wastewater rates. My question now to those of you on council tonight is, what is the cost to the residents? Because right now, that has not been stated. And as a resident of Everett, I've been here now for 11 years. I have my water bills to prove it. They're going through the roof. And this council, many times, it's been a discussion over the past year or so, or more than that. It's a numbers game. And there's no consensus as to what that financial implication is going to be to the residents of Everett. So in your discussions tonight, which I'm sure they're going to be robust, I'd like you to consider all my points that I've stated. And thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other persons wishing to speak? Sir, sorry, yes, come on up.
Dominic Scrivo, 7571 30th Side Road. I own the PV Mart for a year now. It was built in 2006. Drawings were designed by professional engineers, signed off by professionals in the building here, I'm sure, or were here. Built, and for 8 years there was no issues. Apparently all these water issues started 12 years ago from the information I gathered over the last few days. So that's put us 2014. The new home hardware was built in 17, so I'm assuming they started 15, 16 with another professional engineer, more drawings, more approvals from Adjala-Tos, and knowingly a water problem already existing. So now you just added another 7 acres of water going down a different side of the road, but in the same direction. So how could they possibly, not figure that out in 2015 when you already had a problem? Like, was the problem not introduced to the developers and engineers that were designing the second phase of the home hardware? So, and then all these easements, are those easements actually there, or are they just going to get created for all these houses that they're going through? I don't know. I'm assuming that's what's going to happen. That's why they're going to get money for going through the easements and then give money back to put the pipe in their property. Like, this doesn't seem to be a problem for, like, development charges were paid PV. Development charges were paid for home hardware, which is probably a lot larger than PV's. I know what I'm going to pay shortly on up the street, which is substantial. So why should we have to pay for something wasn't really anybody's fault, other than, I guess, Adjala-Tos and the engineers that designed the whole thing? So it's a great idea. I hope I bid the job and get the job. We can go right across the street and do it. We can be really effective. But as I'm just, my comments are like, why are we paying? That's all. We shouldn't have to pay for this. Like, we pay taxes large for the last 20 years, and I'll be paying them for the next 20. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other persons wishing to speak this evening? Yes. Sir, come on up. So I just will comment that anyone speaking to the drainage works, there will be additional information presented or discussion through the report itself. And there is a process, of course, at the next meeting, which is scheduled. So sure, there is an opportunity again to directly speak to the report and its findings at the next meeting, which would be the 28th of July, just so everyone is clear, there is another process.
Okay. So Sam Spatero from 311 Elizabeth Street. I have a few questions to ask. On the front yard infrastructure and construction risks, unlike the older homes on our property, the MTO made us put our well in the back and the septic system built entirely in the front yard. Because this new drainage plan involves significant excavation and ditching right along the property lines, what specific guarantees can the engineering team provide that this construction will not violate the Ontario Building Code clearance zones, compromise my leaching bed, or physically damage my front yard septic infrastructure?
Okay, so this is not an answer or question period, so it's a comment. So if you have your questions, staff can take note of those questions.
Okay.
So continue with your second.
Well, you can let me know if all I have is questions, so this is not the right time for that.
If you have questions, you could submit them to staff. If you don't want to speak here, you can certainly, you're welcome to speak to.
Keep going?
You're welcome to continue.
All right, that's
just
cool.
letting you know that the questions won't be answered here
That's
tonight.
fine.
Yes.
So I'm making residents pay for the commercial problems. The engineering report shows that this drainage project is being driven by downstream flooding caused by upstream commercial developments and expanding paved surfaces. Since residents didn't create this runoff problem, why are these capital costs being passed down to private homeowners instead of being fully paid by the developers or the township's infrastructure budget? And my next question would be, I'm paying for the benefit, which we don't actually get. The question is, my property is being hit with 1,000+ benefit assessment. Can the engineering team point out to the exact measurable improvement this project gives to my specific land that doesn't already exist naturally if my property already drains fine on its own, and what are the actual value I'm getting for this $1,000? And my next question is on the unfair cost shifting. As upstream commercial properties change their plans or petition out of certain sections of this project, how is the township protecting local residents from having the leftover costs unfairly shifted onto them? Are we being forced to pay for a system that is oversized just to accommodate future commercial growth? That's it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other persons wishing to speak this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Crystal Patero, and I live at 311 Elizabeth Street. I've lived there for more than 10 years, and I recently received the township's letter regarding the drainage concerns affecting the 7th line on Elizabeth Street. First, I'd like to address the communications surrounding the public meeting that happened on June the 27th. We were given less than 1 week's notice when that letter came to our address. Now, I work with the public as well, and I know it's important to provide sufficient notice so people have a reasonable opportunity to attend. Unfortunately, our household received notice of the meeting, and there wasn't enough time to change our plans that we had booked our vacation time months in advance. So I found that unprofessional as we talk about involving the public in decisions and spending. It was not enough time. I'd also like clarification regarding the drainage work completed by the township on Elizabeth Street that was done approximately 5 years ago. At that time, drainage ditches were excavated to address the ongoing water issues in our area. And maybe Mr. Pridham, you can think about this question. Can you confirm whether the portion of the ditch in front of the homes was considered complete? I don't know if he can answer now or it's just a comment segment.
It's just a comment segment.
So he can think about that, because if the work was complete as intended, I must respectfully point out that it has not achieved its purpose. The ditch in front of the properties, as well as the ditches to the west of mine, continues to hold standing water, doesn't drain. The water remains there continuously regardless of the weather conditions. Given these existing issues, I hope you can understand why many residents are skeptical of another proposed drainage project, particularly one that requires property owners and businesses to contribute thousands and thousands of, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions, towards its construction. From my perspective, this appears to be a problem that has resulted from the township's planning, engineering, and implementation decisions. It is difficult to understand why the financial responsibility for correcting these issues is now being transferred to residents and business owners who have been affected by them. I also have questions regarding the application of the Ontario Drainage Act. My understanding is that the drainage systems should be designed to manage water responsibly and not simply transfer drainage problems from one property to another. Can the township and its drainage engineers explain how redirecting water from the west side of the 7th line onto the east side complies with the intent requirements of the Act? It appears that diverting additional water onto the east side has contributed significantly to the drainage problems now being experienced by those property owners. Expecting the same residents to bear the cost correcting a problem created by the township's drainage decisions seems unreasonable. Ultimately, my concern is one of fairness and accountability. The township initiated drainage work intended to solve a municipal infrastructure issue. If that work has contributed to the current drainage problems, it's difficult to justify asking affected property owners to finance the solution. And I appreciate the opportunity to express these concerns and look forward to receiving some answers on them.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Are there any other persons in the audience wishing to speak this evening? Yes, Wayne?
How you doing?
Not bad. Just
I
name
own
and-
two
name
prop,
and-
I
yeah.
own two properties involved in it.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of concerned in the whole area that we have to pay for water coming from the west to the east side of the properties. We don't agree with it. And we would like you guys to hopefully think about it, because from what we're hearing, it's a done deal, and we don't believe that we should have it all passed on to us. I, for one, will have a pipe going through two properties that I own, which I don't agree with. So I look forward to when's the next meeting? The
28th of July.
So we get to question and get answers on the 28th?
There will be an opportunity to have questions and answers at the meeting.
Okay.
yes.
And I second this, Pateros.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm Jim McGowan. I own the property that the main drainage is going to go through. 39 years ago, we purchased a property. I had a 6-inch culvert going from the farm field. 6-inch. My kids played in the backyard. They camped. I can't go back there after it rains. I went from 4-inch culvert to what I have now, and you saw the rain. Now you want us to pay for not our fault. You guys approved it. It should not be me or my neighbors. That's simple. That's all I ask for. To take a serious look at who authorized it from the beginning to now. Thank you for my comment.
Thank you. Are there any other persons in the audience wishing to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'll go to the clerk to see if there's any comments that we received in writing.
Through to you, Your Worship, no comments were received in writing.
Thank you. All right, so that takes us on to item 12, which is the upcoming events and announcements. I have 3 just to acknowledge today. First of all, on behalf of council, I would like to extend my thanks to all the volunteers who helped make our Canada Day event such a success. Your time, your energy, and your commitment brought our community together to celebrate in a memorable way, and our celebration was a true reflection of community spirit. So I wish to thank all the members of our staff, the members of the community, the members of our Canada Day committee for making Canada Day a great success and one to remember. The second item is with regards to an event coming up this Saturday, July 11th at 12 noon. It will be a flag raising ceremony to be held at the Lyle Legion to celebrate the 110th anniversary of CFB Borden. Colonel Melissa Ramasar, base commander, and myself will be present to raise the flag, the Base Borden flag, and then it will stay at the Legion as a reminder for a year to celebrate the 110th anniversary. And Councillor Cox, I believe you had seen that email, so that is where the event's going to take place, and there will be a new flagpole being installed tomorrow morning to accommodate that. And then the last item I have is on Friday, August 14th, here at Warden's Park. The township will be hosting its first ever outdoor movie night, and it starts at 7:30 p.m. And the movie that we will be showing is a Minecraft movie. So we welcome the community to come out on August 14th at 7:30 p.m. to enjoy the movie. We'll call it Movie in the Park for this one. So we're looking for a good crowd, and we hope the weather cooperates for us that evening. Council, are there any other upcoming events or announcements? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 13, which is a consent agenda. Are there any items to be pulled from consent? Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, can we pull 13.2 since it was brought up on by Ms. Jancy?
Okay, 13.2. Are there any other items to be pulled from council? Seeing none. So the recommendation would be that consent agenda recommendations 13.1 and 13.3 through to 13.8 be received, or be adopted as presented rather, and that staff be authorized to take all necessary actions. Do we have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor O'Leary. All those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we're on to item 14, which is staff reports. So our first report is staff report IND 2026-17 with regards to Concession Road 7 and Elizabeth Street drainage works. So I'll pass this over to Mr. Darrell for introduction, please.
Thank you, through your worship. This report further to the Burnside presentation earlier, and Tom's still here to ask any questions technically going forward, is to get council authority to proceed to the next steps for the Concession 7 and Elizabeth Street drain. With the approval of council, a staff report and associated bylaw will be prepared for council consideration on July 28th. As I mentioned, we also have Tom here to answer any technical questions, and myself here as well there for any questions for the actual staff report. Thank you.
Okay, so council, we did have that presentation earlier, and I did park any comments or questions with regards to that. So Mr. Pridham, if you would mind just coming back to the podium, and if there are any questions that were directed from that presentation and or from the report itself, the two Toms can answer these questions for us tonight. So Councillor Cox.
Yeah, through the chair, I'd just like to state, I think during the public comment portion of this meeting, they bring up very valid points. I don't think that they cause this problem. I personally don't think they should pay for the problem, and that's just my personal opinion. And I thought just to make that known. Oh, they're coming back. So yeah, right? I just, like I say, we all, it's obvious where the water's coming from. I don't see how they created it. You know, there is a building permit approval process. Within building permit approval processes, there is studies to be done, and obviously there was errors because now these portions of the road are taking on a lot of water, and I feel for the residents on the other side. So I personally don't think they should have to pay for it, and that's just my personal opinion, and I will support that. I'll support those residents because I don't think it's right what happened. It's not your fault either, Mr. Pridham, so there's not really any question or answer here, it's just a statement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Meadows?
Yes, Your Worship. I've been dealing with this since my first term on council when I was out canvassing for election. And I've seen the situation over there get worse and worse every single year. One of the new occupants over there has got 3 sump pumps in his basement. The bulrushes are growing like it's a swamp over there. There's a direct culvert from where the PV Mart, or TSE, sorry, or Sierra, right, a culvert that goes right into the backyards of every single one of those individuals. And it has nowhere else to go but in their backyards. We have one raised septic system that the township allowed to put in, which adds to the problem back there, because now you've got all sorts of contaminants not only running off of the septic bed because it's so wet, it's saturated. You have all the contaminants that are running off the old PV Mart site there. Then I wasn't around when all this design was put in place. But if you look at the structures over there, there's supposed to be a ditch that was dug and graded down to Highway 89 to where there's another main culvert that goes down underneath, which would flood out Elizabeth Street. So thank God they didn't do it. But the problem is all that water is accumulating in that small section and also on Elizabeth Street. I was totally against the design at Home Hardware, because of the way all the water came off of TSC. I knew what was going to happen with, and I brought all this up in the meetings, that there was going to be problems. And I hate to sit here now and say I told you so, but I did. And now we got the same problem over there. We got more water. One poor gentleman's pool blew up because there was so much water one year on a spring runoff, it just wiped the pool right out. These are our design changes that we made and engineering situations that were brought to this council. And I fully agree with you, Adam. As far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, we should have to pay for it. Either way, this system has to be put in because the situation over there right now is dire. And we don't have 12 more years to wait for an answer on this, because that's how long I've been waiting. 12 years. 12 years I've been waiting for this. This is the best system I've seen so far and the cheapest. But unfortunately, I agree with them. It's not their problem. We created this problem. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from council? Okay, I have one question, and I just wanted to, can you outline the process again for me, Tom, as to, so we're receiving the information in the staff report, continuing on with the petition. The next meeting would be the 28th. Council will consider the report, your report, at that meeting, and then look at a proposed bylaw, potentially do a first and second reading of that bylaw, and then there'd be further consideration after that.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I think that in a nutshell, that captures the process. The next stage in the process is called the consideration of the report. Essentially, that deals with do the petitioners wish to proceed with the work? And that's kind of the question. The engineering questions can be discussed at that meeting. The bylaw gets first and second reading, and any financial concerns that were expressed tonight would be appealed to the second meeting, which is called the quarter revision. So council, 3 or 5 members of council, would sit as the quarter revision. As the quarter revision, you do have authority to make changes. And if someone was to appear and say, I don't feel I'm paying too much, the court does have the authority to make that change. So that's where the financial discussion takes place, is at the quarter revision. If someone is still dissatisfied, the appeals go directly to the Ontario Drainage Tribunal. So it would be my sincere hope that it can be worked out in a hearing avoided. I think that would be great for everybody. But we'll see how it goes.
Thank you. And then the second question I had is, you indicated that this report, which is on the agenda, by the way, so it's available for anyone to view, is that circulated in a hard copy to each of the owners affected?
That's
Or
correct.
is it still hard copy? I was just thinking, we were talking about digital age, so do we still print a copy and hand deliver a copy to each of the homeowners?
I much prefer hard copy myself, so everyone will get a hard copy of the report.
Thank you. And can I ask that council be circulated a copy as well, if you're printing?
Absolutely.
All right, Deputy Mayor Laux?
Thank you, through the chair. Can we just get ideally just a rough breakdown of, I understand we got a $1.3 million basic total cost. We're already into it for almost 300,000. Is there any chance or any avenues for provincial funding or provincial or anybody like that to throw in any sort of a dime?
Well, there is a few properties that get the 1/3 grant from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food and Rural Affairs. As far as other funding from other sources, we haven't explored that. It's maybe something we could do with staff, is to try to explore some other options.
Okay, a supplement. And does MTO, would they have anything to deal with this at all?
No, their water's not in the watershed.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Borzos?
Thank you, through the chair. Pretty much everything had been said already that I wanted to say. So I do agree with the colleagues who spoke before me, where it is needed, badly needed. I feel sorry for the people who live there. And I wouldn't want to pay for it either if I lived in a house, one of those houses. So I'm just maybe directing my question to the treasurer, if I may. Is there any way we can scrape some of those barrels and see if we can come up with some sort of funding for this? Or, I mean, I know it's a large chunk of money, but maybe I'm naive, but I'm thinking that's one of the reasons why we build reserves for emergency situations. And it seems to me that we created, inadvertently or indirectly, we created a problem. Perhaps we can now help solve the problem. And I'm not expecting an answer right now. I'm just throwing it out there for your consideration. Perhaps you can provide some answers or some feedback on that. Crunch some numbers, look at some barrels, scrape, and scrape more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I understand staff are going to be working on a bylaw particularly, so they can look at other funding sources and other information that could be relevant to council when they're making a decision moving forward. Councillor Cox again.
Yeah, through the chair to Mr. Pridham. Back to that financial aspects, the secondary review, is it that you mentioned not all of us would be on that review for the
Drainage Act says that the court revision shall be made up of 3 or 5 members of council. It has to be an odd number for a vote
Okay, it has to be made up of 3 of 5 members?
3 or 5.
3 or 5. Okay, but we could all be there, but it has to be made up of those votes.
Sorry?
Like, we'll all be present? I didn't know if that's how many votes they need.
Quarter revision is 3 or 5 members
3 or 5.
at deciding at the table.
We're there, but only 3 or 5 are voting. No, only 3 or 5 are there. Why can't, and that's what the, yeah, I don't like that.
You can be an audience member.
I don't know why it's not all of us, because like, well, I guess so. Well, from what I hear around the table, most of us are on the same page, hopefully. I just am concerned that, because I don't, like, say, the financial aspects I don't agree with at all. And, you know, it's not your fault, it's nobody's fault. I just don't agree with it. I just think we should flip the bill, personally. But neither here nor there.
I appreciate the comments. I think those comments are better at the next meeting where we'd actually consider the report, whether or not we would want to continue with the project and how we could potentially fund it. Before I go to others, Councillor Simpson, did you have anything? Okay, thanks. So Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, I just got a question for you, Tom. You say the MTO has no bearing on this because they're not part of the watershed issue here. How can you say that when that pipe goes from across from their ditch across into Elizabeth Street?
It's on the north side of Elizabeth.
It's on the north side of Elizabeth.
Yes. Their water is on the north side of Elizabeth.
Yeah, but it's going as the underwater pipe isn't going from that corner, is it? Like the PV Mart corner, right? Or sorry, Sierra corner. Is it going all the way across to the west side of the road?
No,
it's going all the way east to Elizabeth Street, because that whole ditch got filled in. And there's a culvert that runs all the way through there that I believe is also leaking, which is causing a lot of, on our side, is causing a lot of sinkholes over on one of the properties over there.
There's no MTO surface water in this drainage area.
It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, it just doesn't, because that pipe is running east and west on our side of the road, right under the main entrance there. So how can you say it's not, like, the MTO shouldn't be involved?
It outlets into the north side of Elizabeth Street. And it's only the south side of Elizabeth Street that's in this drainage area. That water there keeps going to Alliston, past the Hammerhead, and out through a 6-foot culvert by Sobeys. That's where that water goes.
It's a pretty big culvert.
Mm-hmm. If you see the hump in the field, that's the pipe.
Okay.
Okay, are there any further questions with regards to this item? All right, thank you, Tom.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Miles. Appreciate your attendance. Thank you, Mr. Darrell. All right, so there is a recommendation that staff report IND 2026-017, Concession Road 7 in Elizabeth Street Drainage Works be received, and that the engineer's report entitled Concession Road 7 in Elizabeth Street Drainage Works dated July 2nd, 2026 be hereby received, and that the date and time for the consideration of the report be set for Tuesday, July 28th, 2026 at 9 a.m., and that staff be directed to prepare a notice for the consideration of the report, circulate the notice and engineer's report to the affected owners and agencies pursuant to Section 41 of the Drainage Act, and prepare a draft bylaw to implement the work. Do you have a mover for that recommendation? Deputy Mayor Locks, a seconder, please. Councillor Simpson, and all those in favor. Sorry, I'm going to call the vote one more time because I was unsure of the numbers, so all those in favor? And that is carried. So for those property owners that are here, the meeting will be the 28th of July, 9 a.m. here in council chambers. We'll be moving on to 14.2, Staff Report IND 2026-15, the External Works Agreement for a portion of the Concession Road 6 and introduction of the Fire Site Framework Agreement for the construction of a planned Everett Wastewater Treatment Plant and appurtenances. And I'll go to Mr. Darrell and Mr. King.
Your Worship and members of council, this report seeks council authorization to enter into an external agreement with Fireside Homes for the construction of a deep sanitary sewer infrastructure within Concession 6 right-of-way. These works are to be advanced due to their depth, approximately 6 meters, 20 feet, and their integration with the proposed wastewater treatment plant. Completing this work in advance of the road and water main construction reflects standard engineering practice and reduces the risk of rework, cost escalation, and schedule delays. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Darrell, anything else to add to that report?
No, Your Worship.
Okay. Mr. Kalamutu, would you like to provide any further context?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, the second half of this report is mostly for information and an introduction to the next step. As you can see on page 2 of 48, the external works agreement feeds into a number of next steps. Next steps being the Farsight Framework Agreement that we're hoping to bring to council next month. And depending on the process, the external works may also feed into a pre-servicing agreement if that is the process that we're moving forward with, and that is to be determined. So it kind of gives an understanding of the water and wastewater project that was partially funded by the province of Ontario. I think there's been a few reports with regard to that large project, and an approximate schedule, and just kind of a high-level highlight of what is proposed to be being put forward for next month in that framework agreement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council to staff? Councillor Borzos.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm not sure who wants to take this, but I'm not 100% certain if I understand the urgency of this, because right now there isn't anything happening in Everett on Concession 6. If, as the CEO pointed it out a moment ago, this feeds into the framework agreement, then, which is coming next month, what's the rush? What's going to happen between now and then? Why could we not just look at this and do it properly at the same time as the frameworks agreement? Why do we need to pull this forward so much? And because I almost guarantee you that there won't be anything happening there until next council meeting, or if something, it will be very little. Certainly you're not going to have a 6 foot or 6 meter deep hole for 250 meters, which is a quarter kilometer dug, and a pipe laid in it by the time we get to the next council meeting. So I don't understand the rush. I don't understand why we can't just think this through properly. And I don't know if this is right planning or not, but I don't think I can support it the way it is.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Mr. King on this, but I believe it's regards to tendering and project management. So those things have to be in place before we do construction. But Mr. King?
Councillor Borzos, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, and in the preparation to, once the contractor developer gets out there, they'll be able to work right away. This portion of the sanitary sewers that will be installed are like right at the main entrance of where the sewage plant is going to go. So if that is dug up, then you're going to be blocking your entrance to continue on and get the sewage plant done, because that's the most important thing here, is to get that sewage plant done. That's where we have to meet our schedule requirements for the funding agreement. So this is going to help push that along.
I do understand and I appreciate it, and mic is on. Maybe I'm not loud enough. Start yelling, maybe, louder. But And I understand the engineering part of it as well. I do realize that this is going to be 20 feet deep and everything else is going to be on top of this pipe. But I still don't see the necessity of rushing and pushing this through before we have the frameworks agreement, before we have a subdivision agreement, or any of those other agreements. We don't have a wastewater treatment plant at this point. We don't have anything to connect to. We are just kind of opening up another. We already have an earthworks agreement that was put on the table months ago. Now we are doing another one. Like, it's almost like we are chopping this up instead of bringing it together and making it as a whole project. Maybe I don't understand the background. Maybe I don't know the backdrop. I'm not privy to the discussions and the negotiations that go behind the scene. And maybe that is why I'm ignorant to some degree to this matter. But like I said, to me, it would make sense if the whole project would be combined in a frameworks agreement, and then that leads into a subdivision agreement. That makes sense, but not bit by bit by bit. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? Councillor O'Leary.
My question is one of orientation. I'm looking at this drawing of Pearson Engineering, and without the rest of the subdivision, I'm kind of perplexed at where is this wastewater treatment facility? Is it on the east side of the 6th concession?
Yes.
Or is it on the west side?
East side.
On the east side, Councillor O'Leary.
Sorry.
But in the preliminary drawings we were shown, it was on the west side. The preliminary drawings I saw, it was over, there was the loop, and there it was, right there. Then the 6 was to that, so.
So I believe, if I'm recalling the time, I think that we flipped the drawing to show north. So we actually flipped the drawing, so that may have been the determination point on that it may have looked on the west side, but it is actually on the east side.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have no problem. I have a history in construction, and I do know that there's some preliminary work that you have to do in order to get the project moving, and I think this is a preliminary portion that needs to be done, so I think we should go ahead with it.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, if you can bear with me, Your Worship, I've got a few comments on this. I looked this up on different ways for doing service agreements. Yes, it is possible to do external service agreements or pre-servicing agreements before a full subdivision agreement. However, doing so without a final planning approvals and before receiving government grant monies carries extreme financial and legal risks. In the contract, we are only asking the developer for $15,000 in securities, road securities, and for him to have $5 million insurance. Are these all the securities that are being put in place right at the moment for this particular project?
Mr. King?
Councillor Meadows?
Mm-hmm.
This is just for the securities that you see here and those dollar values are only for this short section of the sanitary sewer. Once we get into the pre-servicing agreement, subdivision agreement, then they'll have full-blown securities put on them.
Okay. Supplemental, Your Worship?
Yes, sir.
I've been involved on this council for 3 terms, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this development to go forward. We have put this on hold, I don't know how many times. And not only that, we already had an earthworks agreement done at the very first term of council that I said we were putting the horse before the cart when we gave them the works agreement. And then they turned around and started building a road back there, deforested the whole area, spent about close to $110,000 of taxpayers' money putting in the road back there. Whatever's back there, it's more like a horse path. And now we're going to be ripping all that up to put this in. That's one concern I have. For me, this is just a high risk. This works is for the existing population, far site developments, existing and unserviced residents with the Everett settlement boundaries, and West Everett development, and future pending available funding, whatever that is. What was our estimated cost going to be for the tract of land we purchased if West Everett does not go forward? Now, we were given 20 days to get some sort of estimated cost on what it was going to cost us to purchase if their development doesn't go forward. Does anybody on staff have a number on what it's going to cost us for that particular tract of land?
Mr. Kalamutu?
Excuse me, through your worship, if I remember correctly from the other month, it is that if the development does not go through, then there is an evaluation done by a land evaluator with respect to what the land would be worth in 2026. So that process doesn't actually happen unless it is noted in the future that West Everett will not go through. So that process does not start in the 20 days. It starts if there is a particular default and the development not moving forward.
Supplemental?
Yes, sir.
Well, to me, that is totally wrong. There should be no reason why we can't get an evaluation now in 2026 to see how much that land is and is worth. To have an evaluator come out in 15 years' time to do an evaluation on a piece of land we bought in 2026, we should at least get the value of the land now in 2026 with that makes sense. That makes sense. So 15 years from now, who knows what that land evaluation is going to come in at? To me, it's kind of shady, if you ask me. Anyway, that's the way I look at it. It just doesn't make sense. We should have the evaluation done now so we know what that land is worth. And there should be no reason why we can't get that. Then it states non-eligible costs. Do you mean ineligible costs as in Schedule F? If not, what are non-eligible costs as it should be listed in the contract definitions?
Mr. King?
Through you, your worship, to Councillor Meadows, in section F, where it talks about eligible and ineligible cost definitions, which come from the provincial agreements.
Yeah, well, what I'm talking about is the staff report said non-eligible costs. So is non-eligible the same as ineligible in your opinion, or is it two different things?
Where are you seeing?
It's in your staff report that you gave us.
Right.
Hold on a sec. It is staff report.
It's on page 3 under grant funding.
Grant funding, yeah. You got non-eligible costs.
So, through you, your worship, to Councillor Meadows, are you talking the second paragraph where it talks about
The last line, under grant funding, the last line you got, as well as non-eligible costs and any cost overruns. I'm just wondering, the way it's worded, non-eligible costs could mean something other than Schedule F. So I just wanted to make sure that your definition and my definition are the same.
Through your worship to Councillor Meadows, I believe it is the same.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to know who's responsible for interest costs, if any, or occurred.
Through your worship to Councillor Meadows there, the way the agreement's written is any cost would be the responsibility of the developer.
So interest costs are in there as well?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. You also state no capital costs will be borne on the taxpayers, but future operating maintenance and life cycle costs will be included in future water and wastewater rates. We are currently substantially subsidizing the water rates of the township using what's called an internal water and wastewater loan, which is taxpayer funded, and each year we are stuck paying down the interest of over $5 million accumulated water and wastewater debt so far. We have been using the operating budget overages for this for years. You make it sound like the taxpayers will not be paying for this, which is a false statement. All taxpayers are paying for this, in my opinion. Water rates will only increase substantially over time. Councillors in this township are giving false promises to water and wastewater users on this system, as this statement says it all on page 175 of 322. The cost will be bore on its users. So we're subsidizing them now. All these new costs that are going to be accumulated on this system, because let's face it, the build is not going to be coming out for some time. The complete build is probably a 20-year project. By the time the 20 years has gone by and all these houses have eventually been added on, I'd hate to think of what our debt accumulation is going to be by then, especially when we're putting in a wastewater treatment plant with a developer building maybe 125, 140 homes a year, and we got to run a wastewater treatment plant he's looking for a 7-year extension. We gave him 4, so he'll probably go back for another 3. So we're going to have an operating wastewater treatment plant, especially after Mayor Locke's turned around and told us, in one council meeting not too long ago, that the wastewater treatment plant is going to be failing any time, and we're going to get all these fines and that from the MOE. So I'm kind of concerned that we're building false hopes on these people, that we're telling them about the water and the wastewater rates. I'm glad you think it's real funny, but it's what you said.
Okay, so Councillor Meadows, so I'll preface this by saying that staff and council don't have a crystal ball. So the items that you referenced, we simply don't know what's going to happen in 20 years. But I believe your basis of the question was who was funding the construction of this project, and then the differential between who was paying for the maintenance and upkeep of the system after it's constructed.
That's right.
Okay. Mr. King?
Through you, your worship, to Councillor Meadows. We're going through the preliminary design process right now, and to find out we'll find out the equipment that's going to be used and the cost to run that equipment. But the idea is that we're getting rid of the New Horizons wastewater plant, and they have operators and machinery and standby power and all that. So the power and people, so those costs, operating costs, would be the same as the new Everett wastewater plant. So it's good. Well, we are confirming that.
Okay, supplemental to that. I believe I sent an email to the treasurer not too long ago on the operating costs of the Colgan plant, and I believe it's something like 800,000. Is that correct?
Approximately for the.
Approximately 800,000 between 500 homes. A year. That's the, I take it, that was the water and wastewater, I believe. The cost for water and wastewater. Operational for Aqua.
Through the chair to Councillor Meadows, yeah, that was just for the wastewater costs.
That was just a wastewater cost. Okay, thank you. So you can add the water costs onto that. But even though, you know, some of the water costs are bore by other people other than just the development, you can see where I'm going with this, that our water rates, right now we're subsidizing the water. Right now our rates are subsidized. So can you imagine what it's going to be like when we're adding another 800,000? So I feel for the people that are on water and wastewater in this township. Previously, I had asked for an updated master servicing plan and an EA with regards to this development, which was denied by council, as the members have changed, as numbers have changed, and the data is in most cases is no longer valid. On page 190 of 322, I came across an interesting item, 2.12.2. It states, should the plan for any reason be refused, final approval. Why are we working and initiating anything, especially a development, without final approvals?
Mr. King, I'll give you time to find that section.
Through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Meadows. So section 2.1.2, it states that should the plan for any reason be refused final approval, external works must cease and the developer is responsible financially and otherwise for all works installed. So there'll be no cost towards the taxpayers. It'll be up to the developer plus all his securities that we can utilize to make that site safe.
But it states, should the plan for any reason be refused final approval. There must be something there that hasn't got final approval.
Through your worship there, Council Meadows there. So that's referring to the final Far Site Framework Agreement. So if for any reason the final Far Site Agreement was not approved, we are, through this agreement, not actually asking council to give a final approval for the FFA. So we didn't want to get into an agreement where we're forcing council to come to decide a final approval at a later date. So that's what we're referring to there, is if for some reason council decides not to enter into the FFA, then the developer is responsible for the costs in the EWA. So that's what we're trying to refer to, as we're not putting the township at risk if for some reason the council decides to change their mind with the future FFA that's supposed to be coming next month.
So we might as well wait till next month before we put this through, because we need the final approvals. And then the most worrisome, through your worship, I'm sorry, I got a couple, just two more. The most worrisome statement, which should concern all taxpayers and council, is on page 178 of 322. And I've been on council 3 terms, and I've never come across this ever, where a contractor report has come forward with legal words, not only in a report, but also in a contract stating once the subdivision agreement is in place. This statement sounds real reassuring to me. We have given this development a 4 to 5 extensions over the years, totaling 12 years on my time on council, never mind what was before. And the developer, after the 4 we just gave him, could go to whatever new provincial planning committee and get another 3. So to me, I'm real concerned with that statement, and it's not just once or twice in the contract either. I don't know of anybody that would buy anything with an if or slash once in the contract. Like, to me, it's like it's scary. It's open-ended. And I don't know any lawyer that, any legal agreement I have ever had that has had this. If slash once.
Sorry, through your worship there, Councillor Meadows, which, my page numbers are not lining up with yours there. Which actual section are you talking about?
Oh, mine might not be lining up because I had to, because the amendment was brought in on Friday and I picked up my agenda on Thursday, the amendment had to be added to the thing afterwards. So let me just get it here for you.
It's next steps.
You doing section 3.2, 3.21?
Hold on one second. I'll get it. I've got all the documents. Okay, page 178 of 322. Yes, page 6 of 48 on the report. If slash once the subdivision agreement is in place and constructed external works will be considered as if installed at the time of the adjacent pipe installation.
So I'll go to CEO Kalamutu, but I'm pretty sure it's putting it into the subdivision agreement, but I'll go to Chris.
Through you, your worship, this timing that is noted here, if the subdivision agreement or once the subdivision agreement goes in, depending if it is approved or not, it is basically for the acceptance and the assumption of that section of pipe. And so because this particular piece of pipe is going in early, there could be a request that the timing of this section of pipe be accepted or approved only, say, a couple of years after. So what it is noted is that it's considered as if it was installed at the time of the adjacent pipe installation. So the acceptance, the guarantee, the assumption is actually based on the system of the pipe, not the timing of this pipe. So we're not going to accept it early. We're going to accept it with the rest of the system and the same timing with the rest of the system.
Yeah, and I noticed that in a few sections of the contract itself where it said if and slash once. And that has me very concerned with this project going forward. That, you know, I've never, ever seen that in a contract before. And since we are on the hook if West Everett does not go through, which is the outflow location property, do we have any costs, like the land costs that were incurred in that? Will that be under land acquisition in this contract or no? Because it's the outflow location, and it was a land acquired by the township for an unknown dollar amount.
Mr. Kalamutu.
Through your worship, there's actually 3 different things that Councillor Meadows talking about. So with regard to the outlet, that was done through the outlet agreement that was previously approved by council. I believe the cost to the town for that is $2. So that was the cost of getting that particular piece of land, along with all the other stipulations that were in the previously approved agreement with regard to 1-to-1 ratio. This particular one, with regard to the external works agreement, the geography of that is actually on the same page that Councillor O'Leary noted on attachment 1. It is page 8 out of 48. We're only talking about the purple section of pipe for those that it's noted as external works agreement. So it's only the piece of pipe that is currently, or that will be future, my apologies, there's a fly here, that will be potentially going on to our right of way. And so if you think about the external works agreement, it is also, it is very similar to almost like a large process because of the size of the pipe, but the process itself is very small. So it could have been a road occupancy permit. It could be that simple, but because of the scale of the pipe and the construction, we decided to make it an external works agreement. So it is just the works that are going to be on our road allowance for that short length. I believe it's 250 meters up our road allowance. And that is all we're talking about with the external works agreement here, is what we're looking for. The other one, as noted with the Farsight Framework Agreement, that talks about the rest of the project, within, for water and wastewater, the plant, the rest of the pipes, the reconfiguring of New Horizons, the wells, etc. So that's going to be part of the next agreement. And as noted within the page 2 of 48, the agreement relationships, they are separate agreements, and this is fairly standard when it comes to development, for large developments. This is fairly standard. You take a look at the earthworks agreement first to do the clearing and the grubbing. You usually take a look at the pre-servicing, so that gets all the underground infrastructure in place, and then you take a look at the actual subdivision agreement. In our case here, the way that is put out, there is a framework agreement to actually construct the plant and the rest of the services. And in this particular case, because they are building on our road right-of-way, we're looking at an external works agreement just for that small section of pipe. And that's what's being brought forward to council for approval tonight, is just the 250 meters. It is, this external works agreement does not talk about the outlet agreement. It does not talk about any land currently owned by the developer. It does not talk about the future land on the wastewater treatment plant. Although those will be connected, we're not talking about those. We're only talking about the one piece of pipe on our road right-of-way. I'm not sure if that clarifies anything, but again, we're here for future for further questions.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kalamutu. Mr. Meadows, anything further?
That's it.
Okay. I'll go to Councillor Simpson and then Councillor Cox.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you. Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Kalamutu, just want to confirm the area that these works are proposed to occur. Those are within the unopened road allowance portion, or the area that was previously closed off and bushy, right?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. It's the unmaintained road allowance.
That's right.
That currently stands.
Thank you. I also want to comment, there were a few comments made today. And just for some clarification, for my clients who are purchasing new homes, I often conduct title searches. And when I do title searches in various municipalities across Ontario, I often see many agreements, right? And these could be earthworks agreements, there are subdivision agreements. In some cases, there are several subdivision agreements on a single property. That is not unusual. That is completely within the normal process for projects of this nature and this scale. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I don't see that as being an issue, and especially as this agreement, and I've looked through it, I'm not seeing an issue with approving aspects of the development prior to getting the subdivision agreement to council for approval. I also want to note, we just noted that, the cost in Colgan is about 800,000 for the wastewater plant alone. 800,000 divided by 644 homes is about $1,240 per home in Colgan, just in Colgan. I mean, our residents in Colgan should be so fortunate to only pay $1,200 a month or per year for the wastewater. We know they're not paying $1,200. We know they're paying more than that for the system and for the services, because they're paying for the whole system as a whole, as opposed to just for the Colgan facility. So if we're building a new facility in Everett, which is substantially similar, the costing for that system, as Mr. King noted, is substantially similar to the new facility. The cost for operating that will be substantially similar to the facility that we are decommissioning. And if that being the case, that means we're adding an additional 2,000 homes to that system. The cost becomes reduced for everybody in the municipality. So I don't think that's an issue. I know there have been comments made on social media, and a resident came forward today concerned about all residents in Everett being forced onto the system because the system has the capacity to accommodate them. For reference, the previous council, which approved that hold that nobody can be connected, well, that same council approved a system in Colgan that accommodates everybody in Colgan and in Kenansville. So please keep that in mind, that it is not unusual that those kinds of agreements are put in place, just as a measure of good planning. So I don't see that necessarily as being problematic. I'm in support of this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cox?
Yeah, through the chair, I just want to have a point of clarification because it was mentioned that council is spreading false information. And respectfully, I just would like to clear it up that I don't think anyone here is spreading false information. I know I sure don't. I speak the truth. I try to be as truthful as I can. That's all I wanted to say about that. I don't like being tarred with the brush of being a liar. Not a liar. Might be a lot of things, but I'm not a liar.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from council?
What about Adam's point of clarification? I mean, we've been said that we're providing misinformation and false information. Everything in this report I provided right out of the report. Are you saying that I'm providing misinformation?
No, I think Councillor Cox is referring to that we're council and we're actually not providing any of misinformation, is what he's referring to. Yeah, there hasn't been any misinformation communicated from council.
Okay, no, I'm just
nobody
saying, like,
it was mentioned during.
I've been pretty forthright with what I've read in the reports, and
don't take it wrong. Through the chair, you actually mentioned that council was spreading false information during you might have misspoke, but it was actually said. I was going to say it at the time.
Oh, you're talking about what I said.
Yeah.
No, but just people saying that this.
But you mentioned council saying false information, and I want to make sure
because there's.
It's not right. It's not right. I am not spreading false information, and I will put that down right now. That is not right.
So you
can correct yourself there because I don't spread false information. I have the information in front of me, and I'm relaying the information that's presented to me. Whether that to me can't be false. That is what I've been given. So to tar me as a liar or spreading false information is wrong, sir.
I didn't say false. I didn't say false information. I said misinformation.
Oh, well, we're going to be splitting hairs here.
Hey, I never called you a
false
liar.
information. Well,
I'm just saying,
someone who spreads
Okay,
misinformation, someone
gentlemen,
who spreads
that's-
false
that's enough.
information is like the same thing, sir. I'm sorry to tell you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you took it that way, Mr. Cox. It's just that I've sat here and listened to that the water rates for these people and the wastewater rates for these people are going to be going down and down when more people are added. And I have yet to see the water rates go down, and in fact, all I've seen is them go up. And they keep going up, and I keep getting the same thing from council and other people on this council that are going around telling residents, maybe not you, but there's people out there saying that the water rates are going to go down when more people are added. And this is clarification that these water rates are not going to be going down.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
So let's provide a bit more clarity here. We're not talking about water tonight, we're talking about wastewater. And second of all, no one, I don't believe, has ever said water rates or wastewater rates were gonna go down.
Okay.
They would,
If we
they
got
would be, they would
clarification
be
on that.
shared amongst more users, which would result in less cost increases over the system. Because you have more users, you don't have to have the cost increases to sustain that system. No one has said that the costs are gonna go down. The
Okay.
costs are what they are as they are today. This agreement is to deal with the external works on the site for this project. As Mr. Kalamutu has indicated, there'll be a further report and agreement for the FFA, and that will come to council hopefully in August. Staff are finishing up that, and then council can decide on that project agreement with the developer.
And if Mr. Cox, if I offended you in any way, I do apologize, because you're the last person that I would like to offend, because I know you're very honest and forthright.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. Are there any other comments with regards to this item? Okay. Seeing none, there is a recommendation that staff report IND 2026-015 dated July 8, 2026 regarding external works agreement for a portion of Concession Road 6 and introduction to the Fireside Framework Agreement for the construction of the planned Everett Wastewater Treatment Plant and appurtenances be received, and that council consider the necessary bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an external works agreement with Fireside Homes to permit the early construction of a deep sanitary infrastructure within a portion of Concession Road 6 to support the planned Everett Wastewater Treatment Plant and the sanitary main connections for the adjacent lands that are to be developed in the future. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor O'Leary, seconded by Councillor Simpson. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, I'd like to move to amend the main motion by adding the following paragraphs. That as costs to hook up to the new Everett wastewater plant are unaffordable to many residents, including our retired seniors, it is only fair that the affected property owners have a voice in financial matters that will directly affect them, and that the existing unserviced residents' homes within the Everett settlement boundaries shall not be forced to hook up to the new Everett wastewater plant being constructed on the far site Barzo lands, and that should any hookup of existing unserviced residents' homes shall only proceed after council obtains a 75% written approval from the affected property owners only after having a public meeting with the affected residents, and prior to the public meeting, the affected residents shall be informed in writing of all costs to be incurred by them to connect to the new wastewater treatment plant, and further that after obtaining the 75% vote from the existing unserviced residents within the Everett settlement boundaries, the council shall obtain a majority vote. All financials and costs to the affected unserviced residents within the settlement boundaries have been agreed to the affected residents and the township council.
Okay, you're moving that.
I'll move that, please.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Borzos, questions or comments? I'll just provide one. If I heard it right, I find the motion a bit contradictory, because the first paragraph says we won't hook anybody up, but then the remaining paragraphs of it states how we hook them up.
Yeah, that if...
Right. So
that
I
if
think
any-
the goal would be that we've made no indication at this council or in a staff report that we would wish to hook anybody up at this time. I think if that's the goal, then that's the goal. But to go on and say, well, if we do decide to hook you up, this is how we're going to follow the process. So,
Well,
it's just, I think, going back to the point of misinformation to the public, I think this is very confusing to the resident when they would say, well, you're not hooking us up, but then the second part of the motion says, well, if you do decide to hook us up, you have to get 75% of us to sign on.
Fair enough.
So
Fair
I just
enough.
wanted to comment on that.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then what I'll do is I'll take off the bottom portion and just keep it as the upper portion of the motion I put forward and leave it at that. That as costs to the hookup to the new Everett Waste Plant are unaffordable to many residents, including the retired seniors, it is only fair that the affected property owners have a voice in the financial matters that will directly affect them, and that the existing unserviced residents' homes with the Everett settlement boundaries shall not be forced to hook up to the new Everett wastewater plant being constructed on the Farsight Barzell lands.
And seconders okay with that? Okay. Are there any further questions or comments with regards to the amendment? Councillor Simpson?
Through the chair, perhaps staff can clarify how much authority a council would have to tie a future council to decisions made by this council. Just curious.
Madam Clerk, I'll go to you if you may.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to council. In this instance, this would be the stance that this council would be taking. Should a future council choose to take a different course of action, they would just need to pass a new motion or bylaw directing staff to hook up the Everett residents in this case, or to override the previous decision of a former council.
Is that a simple majority?
Through Your Worship to Councillor Simpson, yes, that would be by direction of the new term of council.
Correct. So my only concern is this. There is a previous bylaw to the same effect.
Sorry, just clarify, it's a resolution. So it wasn't a bylaw, it's a
Oh,
resolution.
it was a resolution.
Mhm.
Correct. Thank you.
There's a bonus.
So there was a resolution of council already standing on that issue.
Mhm.
So you're just adding to it with another
Absolutely.
documentation of the same resolution.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions with regards to the amendment? Seeing none, so that was moved by Councillor Meadows and Borzos. So only on the amendment, all those in favor? And that is carried. And then we're back to the main motion as amended. Were there any further questions or amendments with regards to this item? So seeing none, again, the first paragraph stands, the second paragraph stands, and we've added a new paragraph or two new paragraphs to that item. So any clarification needed from council? Okay, all those in favor?
Can I have a recorded vote, please?
Sure. Madam Clerk, a request for recorded vote from Councillor Meadows.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Meadows, in favor or against?
Against?
Councillor Borzos, in favor or against?
Against.
Councillor Cox, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor O'Leary, in favor or against?
In favor.
Councillor Simpson, in favor or against?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Locks, in favor or against?
In favor.
And Mayor Anderson, in favor or against?
In favor?
That's 5 in favor, 2 against.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-2. All right, so we're on to item 14.3, which is staff report IND 2026-16, contract award for playground equipment and parks capital project update. Mr. Darrow.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is to provide an update on all council-approved parks and projects, as well as the approval of the purchase of a bump track for Lyle Memorial Park for $76,757 to Canadian Ramp Company, and for playground equipment for Glen Cairn Park in the amount of $46,776 to Compam, and that the additional cost of $2,500 over the previously approved parks budget of $355,000 be funded, $355,000 be funded through the working fund reserve.
Thank you, Mr. Darlow. Questions or comments? I was just going to comment originally here on this, and I'm happy to see the reports. I'm happy to see the numbers. They're fairly favorable, but I do have a concern just generally with the pump track here that we're looking at. It's about 17,000 over what was asked for in the budget. When we go through the budget process, I think it's very clear that we need to make sure we're budgeting fairly accurately on our items, and this did not come in that way. We've realized cost savings on the pickleball courts, which I realize is a cost savings, but we have to recognize that's coming out of the Parks Reserve Fund. So it's not actually a savings. We're spending more money out of reserves. And I just wanted to comment to council that I believe with the construction that we've done in the last approval in the last month, potentially some within the grants coming up, we are drawing on reserves this year. I believe, without doing the math on this, I believe we're overdrawing our reserves than what we're putting in. So I just wanted to comment on council. We've done a very good job financially this term, council, to make sure that we were financially, constrained to make sure that there's funds there. So my suggestion would be to remove that item this year, to put it into the 2027 budget, so that it can be fully funded from that reserve fund. And then that project would proceed in the spring of 2027. It's unlikely, I don't know the timelines offhand here, but it's unlikely that that would be in place before October anyways. So saving a couple months here, I think, to put it back into the process of budget 2027 would be better. So I'm just going to suggest that just as a cost prudence, so that we actually are maintaining our reserve funds to a suitable level for this project. Questions and comments? Councillor Cox first, and then Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, through the chair, I think the kids and the families are worth every overage that we are putting into it, and I'm not rolling the dice on a future council. So I'd prefer to move this forward, and I'd also like to thank staff for all their hard work they put into it. I know there's families in Ward 5, but definitely looking forward to the upgrades, and I'd appreciate the support.
Thank you. Councillor Meadows?
Yeah, I totally agree with Adam Cox on this one. In fact, I was kind of questioning, even though it's over a little bit, in the comments you just made, why don't we defer all the community grants that are coming forward that are supposed to be budgetary items for 2027 and take that money out of the reserve that we have for operational and put it into the track? I mean, it makes more sense.
You could suggest that when we go to the next item.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Councillor O'Leary.
I just, these tracks, they seem to be a new item. I've never seen them in any parks, even in Toronto. And I'm in all the newer parks down there. My kids are in the new developed area and that. I'm just wondering, are they worth the money? Will they stand up? Will they be there next 5 years down the road? Because they're black. They're all they don't seem to have support under them. This one doesn't anyways. And in the sun, are they gonna, the sun, what the sun does to car tires? You can't keep car tires. Yeah, you're supposed to change your car tires after 4 or 5 years just because of the sun. Now, what are these going to be like in 4 or 5 years? Are they going to be a waste of money? Or are we farther ahead to do these in concrete, which we know are going to be there in the future? So Anyway, that's my opinion only, so, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I won't speak for Mr. Darlow, but he could probably speak to what types of materials these are made out of, and there are multiple types. Mr. Darlow?
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Leary there. So the company that we engaged for these ramps, they've actually built these ramps across North America, down in Arizona, as well as up here in Canada, multiple locations. Specifically, a local application would be in Alliston. They have one that's roughly 3 times the size of this one that's been put in there. We did reach out to the Department of Recreation in Alliston to talk about how it's used there and the overall uptake, and we did get positive results from them regarding their application. So overall, we feel, sorry, in the last part of the question there they didn't answer was, so the actual product, so if you're looking at it in the picture there is just a graphical interpretation. There's actually a lot of framing and so on and so forth underneath the actual system, and it is a modular style system, so you could take it apart and add to it, you could relocate it. But from the information that we've been told, the system seems to be quite robust, and the communities we did speak to that already have existing units have been happy with the overall maintenance for the equipment.
Okay, thank you. Question, Mr. Darlow, did we speak to any neighboring municipalities on what kind of use they get? Because I know I've driven past someone in Allison particularly. Actually, I've been there 2 or 3 times during the evenings, and it's not used at all. So I was just curious if they had indicated any use for the tracks.
We did speak to them, and they did say it was used, but I didn't get any specific numbers from Alliston on the actual usage. But they subjectively they said it was well received.
Okay, Councillor O'Leary, follow up.
Yeah, through the chair, my question is to Mr. Darlow is which park? There's no baseball diamonds on those parks, because I've been in every baseball diamond park in Alliston and I haven't seen it.
So the one in New Tecumseh is at the Riverdale Park, beside the splash pad, in between. So where the old Ruthven Diamond used to be, right on top of the old diamond of Ruthven Diamond.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any further questions with regards to these projects? Councillor Simpson?
Through the chair, just want to note that I also don't trust a future council to make the decisions that we should be making today. Another thing I want to note too is we're seeing here that the cost overage for the parks budget is about $2,500. I don't know that we necessarily need to put a whole project on pause just because of a $2,500 overage. I'm sure the working funds can handle it. I'm also satisfied that in previous years we've had significant under budget estimates being made, or over budget estimates being made, and the municipality having received the benefit of that with additional funds going into the working funds. So I'm perfectly happy to support this motion going forward and having these amenities put in our parks today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? So I just wanted to clarify, and because I took your point there. What I was saying, reserve funds are tax impacted, but we're looking at taking additional funds out of one reserve, which is not tax impacted. But what my original point was, is we're actually taking more money out of the parks reserve to fund projects this year than was budgeted. And so that's where I was getting at. We're actually robbing more of our internal dollars to pay for projects, which would actually then, to Councillor O'Leary's point, potentially next year, if we wanted to look at building this out of concrete, maybe adding another $70,000 to the project to actually do the project in its entirety. So we're just not piecemealing items. Is what I was getting at. So anyways, I got the question here, so I'll read the motion. That staff report IND 2026-016 dated July 8, 2026 regarding contract award for playground equipment and parks capital project update be received, and that council approve the purchase of a pump track to Canadian Ramp Company in the amount of $76,757 plus applicable taxes, And that council approve the purchase of a playground equipment to Compton Playscapes Incorporated in the amount of $46,776 plus applicable taxes, and that the additional costs of $2,500 over the total previously approved parks budget of $355,000 be funded from the working fund reserve. And that council approve the changes to our 4 parks projects budgets based on the actual tender costs as outlined and described in the financial implications section of the report. Are there any questions on that motion? Mover, please. Councillor Cox. Seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Laux. And all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we're on to 14.4, which is staff report finance 2026 0. Sorry. I'm going to do this right now because I'm not going to hit it at 10 o'clock anyways. All right, so I need a motion to carry on past the hour of 10 p.m. if council so desires. That's moved by Councillor O'Leary, seconded by Councillor Simpson, and all those in favor. And that is carried. Okay, 14.4 staff report finance 2026-09, 2026 grant, community grants. Mr. Andrechuk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Staff are bringing forward the 2026 Community Grant Program. For 2026, we did receive 12 grant applications as outlined in Appendix 1 with a summary page as well as the detailed applications. The total of all the grant applications totaled $22,000. The available funding through the operating budget and the community grant reserve is $15,300. So there's a shortfall if we were to fund all the grant requests of $6,700. And in the recommendations, we have suggested using the working fund reserve to fund the difference. I would also like to add, this is under the new grant policy, and in this grant policy, it does state requests must be made in writing using the prescribed application form by the deadline. In this policy, we have set a $2,000 limit for each applicant in the policy, and according to the policy, we did inform all previous applicants or those approved for grant funding last year of the program through emails or phone calls.
Okay, thank you. If council would indulge me, I do have a conflict of interest with regards to one paragraph of this item, so I would like to split the question into 3 if council is amenable to that. So it'd be, so I do need a motion, the main motion moved first, so I'm not going to read every item, but if I can get a mover for that item. Councillor Cox, a seconder, please. Councillor O'Leary. So that's the main motion moved. And then it'd be a motion to split the question into 3 parts. So part 1 would be, Madam Clerk, I should have wrote this down. Parts 1 would be removal of paragraph 10.
Yes, so if I may make a suggestion, Your Worship, I would recommend that the motion be that the main motion be divided to consider paragraph 10, grant funding for the Lyle Hall Recreation Association separately, and that the main motion be divided to consider paragraphs 14 and 15 to confirm the total funding amounts and funding sources separately.
There we go. Is council happy with that wording? Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor O'Leary. Okay, all those in favor of splitting the question? And that is carried. Okay, so we're going to consider the first part. All right, so it is everything except paragraphs 10, 14, and 15. So I'm assuming everybody's okay with the report. We're happy with accepting the report, right? All right, so moving on to the second paragraph. Council approved funding for Reach and Serve Foundation of $2,000. Are there any questions or concerns with this grant process? Okay. Deputy Mayor Laux and then Councillor Meadows.
I just have a suggestion.
Let's make a suggestion and see what happens.
My suggestion is apologies. Sorry, so lumping this all together, Reach and Serve, Angus Community, New Tottenham School, and John Howard Society be removed from the grant requests. All others would receive $1,900 as opposed to $2,000, and we could fulfill our total available funds and still have $20 in the black, would be my suggestion.
Okay.
And obviously, anybody else can suggest something too.
So that's one suggestion. The other suggestion going line by line. Councillor Simpson.
Sorry.
Sorry, I'll just go to your
Deputy
Councillor
Mayor,
Mello, you're okay.
could you clarify why Reach and Serve?
Sorry, so again, that's position.
No,
So-
I have no problem. I just wanted to understand, like, is there a
So again,
rationale
we're
or?
not going there yet.
Okay.
Councillor Meadows, any initial comments on this?
Yes, I'm just kind of concerned. I have never had this process done before. This was always done at budget time in the past. We already did our 2026 funding for the people that put in applications for, donations. I believe Everett Legion was one of them. We gave them a substantial donation with regards to signs and stuff. This is supposed to be a budget item, and in our new policy, it says it's supposed to be a budget item. And the new council has the budget this time. So this should be left for the new council to be looking after this stuff, not us. We shouldn't be directing 2027 budgetary items, because that's exactly what this is. Even if there was an overage from last year, the money from the operating and that should have gone into or whatever, and we're using $6,700 of the operating budget, so it should have gone into the capital already. So to me, we should be leaving this for the next council, for the next mayor under his purview for the budget process.
Okay.
And council, if that's the direction of council.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Meadows. So I'm just going to seek clarification from the treasurer on this grant application. Is it 2026 or 2027, and is it included within which budget, please?
Through the chair to council, this report is for the 2026 grant applications, and the funding in the operating budget is the 2026 operating budget funding for the grants. And the surplus amount is from unspent money from 2023, where we didn't need all the funds in the grant operating account, so we've set it aside in the reserve. And we use some of that funding in '24. So that's just the remaining funds. So this all does pertain to 2026 grants, and the operating funding is the 2026 operating budget funding for the community grant program.
Okay, thank you for the clarification then.
So, supplemental?
Councillor Meadows?
With regards to that, are we going by a new policy then? When was the policy put in place? The new policy, I can't remember.
The new grant policy was approved by council on January 14th.
January
2026.
14th of 2026? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, if the new policy was put forward in 2026, it goes on to the 2027 budget, because January 1st is when we start our new year on the budget, is it not?
Through the chair to
Yeah,
council,
but
our budget is for the fiscal year, and those funds allocated in the 2026 budget is for the 2026 community grant program.
That's correct. But if we have any overages on that would have been, okay, January 2026, like anything that we've put forward in 2026, we changed the grant program in 2026. It is now 2026. When we did the budget was done in 2025. So we made a change after we had done the budget. So just because it's 2020, we do the 2026 budget in 2025. We don't do the 2026 budget in 2026. We do the 2027 budget.
Hold on.
Well, we didn't do it this year, but I think the confusion might lie with, we did our grants and donations for 2025 late. Late.
Or late, yeah.
So we've just completed those. We are now on to 2026. And this program has been under the new policy that council implemented a few months ago. Councillor Simpson?
And Councillor Meadows, just for clarification too, we have historically had issues every time the community grant program came forward with inconsistencies in how applications were received, whether applications were received or not. There were issues through all that.
I've sat here for 12 years, I know that. You don't have to direct me.
No, I'm not directing you, sir. I'm just clarifying because I think you seem to be confused on when funds were allocated and how the policy got revised so that we can now move forward with a program that is robust and captures all the issues, so that going forward into the future, we have a proper framework. So that's all I was clarifying. And I hope that's well received. Thank you.
Okay, so we have applications in front of us. The application forms are part of our agenda. We have several options we can choose. We can go through this one line by line, project to based on the merits, which again, I believe they submitted their information on the merits of the program. I think we should consider those. Or we have the option of painting everybody in one brush type thing and divvy up money as we see fit. I'm going to just comment again, though, that as much as we provide this service to our community and to our residents, that we provide dollars, it is taxpayers' dollars to other community groups to support their use. And in my opinion, it's imperative that council has a discussion as to the merits of those applications, because it is tax dollars. But again, I'm at council's whim here as to which way we'd want to go. If there's an idea here of projects that we wish to remove from this list, we could maybe potentially start there first, and then we could look at the remaining ones. So maybe that might be the suggestion that I would make, is if we could go around the table and ask if there's any items that would be removed. We can go around each member. If there's consistency for that, then we would have a consensus. I see several hands here, so maybe that's not the case, but Councillor O'Leary, Councillor Borzos, and then Councillor Meadows.
Through the chair, I just need some clarification because I had a resident ask me who the Friends of Adjala were.
Nobody knows.
Like that's just something, Friends of Adjala-Tosorontio. I don't know who they are.
They did the Kite Festival last year.
They did the which?
Kite Festival.
Oh, the Kite Festival. Yeah. Okay, and then the other one was the Reach and Serve Foundation. Like what's the Reach and Serve Foundation?
It's out of Alliston.
Food bank.
It's a food bank out of Alliston.
The food bank?
Not the food.
The food bank. It's yeah.
It's a
Second food bank? Okay. All right, thank you, that's all I needed to know.
Okay, thank you.
Just clarification.
Councillor Borzos?
Thank you, through the chair. I'd like to support Deputy Mayor Lux's suggestion about removing the new Tottenham school. That school hasn't even been built yet. So I don't know why we would do that. And also the walking club in Angus, I don't think it's money well spent, especially not for our residents. And also I think it was the John Howard Society. But I'd like to leave the Reach and Serve Foundation in there. And so I think if we were to take out about 3 of these larger ticket items, then we would be able to just get rid of the $6,700 deficit. So.
Okay, I'm sure staff might have took those down, but like I said, I was going to go around the table, but we started there. Councillor Meadows.
Yeah, got a few questions with a few of these. Well, the Reach and Serve Foundation, I know what that is. I don't know, I'd just like to know, does staff know how many people in Adjala-Tosorontio it serves? Or if any?
Mr. Anderchuk, whatever we received is in the application form?
Correct. We have the complete application, and if the applicants so choose, they may have provided additional information over and above the application. That is all the information we have received.
It's just like it's mainly based in Alliston, so.
So again, we're basing the merits off of what they submitted for their application.
Yeah.
Councillor Meadows, I'll start with you then as well. Was there any items that you wish to remove off the list?
The Angus Community Run and Walk. The new Tottenham Catholic School, until it's built, I totally agree. We shouldn't be funding. I have a problem supporting schools as well.
I appreciate everybody wants to give their rationale, but
Yeah.
I'm just looking for a list of items to remove.
Very pragmatic. And the John Howard Society, I don't think we should be funding that one. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor O'Leary, did you have any other, did you have items that you would wish to remove from the list?
Well, I think I can agree with Councillor Lodge.
Okay, well, his list is almost exactly as Councillor Meadows and Councillor Borges.
The Reach and Serve.
Other than one.
Reach and Serve is out. The Tottenham School, that's out. The Angus Community Run and Walk, I don't know why that's in there.
So you want it out?
Angela. And the John Howard.
Okay, so do I need to go to others? So we've already got Angus Community Run Walk, New Tottenham School, John Howard Society, and Reach and Serve is on the cusp. So are those the 4 items that we would wish to remove from the item list?
I guess I'll give you mine as well. The Angus Community Run and Walk.
Yep.
John Howard.
Yep.
New Tottenham Catholic.
Yep.
And also Procyon.
Okay. Any other ones for Procyon? No? Okay, so we got 4. So Reach and Serve, Angus Community Run Walk, New Tottenham School, and John Howard Society. We're comfortable removing those items? All right, so those items are removed.
Do we want a budget? I'm just not.
So that's $6,000.
Everybody else can be 1910.
So that's 6,000 that's 6,000 we removed from the item, so we're now just $700 over budget. So are we comfortable with that?
I'd be comfortable with $90 off each of those 8, and we'd be in the box.
Make it budget.
That's what I spoke to.
They asked for 2,000.
My math is wrong? Reach and Serve is 2,000, correct?
Correct, yes.
Angus Community Run Walk was 500.
Correct?
Tottenham School was 2,000.
Yes.
And John Howard Society was 1,500.
Yes, leaving us with 16,000.
We were over by 6,700.
So that was $6,000 we chopped off.
We're still over by 700.
My apologies. The John Howard Society was 1,500.
2, 4, 5.
So that's 6,000.
That's 6,000.
6,000.
So we're still 700 over. There's 8 left that could get 1910 each, and we'd be in budget.
I don't disagree that we'd be in budget. What I disagree with, though, is we're not discussing the merits of why they actually ask for the money, and just painting everybody with one brush to say that you're equal and you deserve equal, I disagree with.
That's right.
I understand that point, but they are also asking for, they're not saying we need this, we're asking for 2,000. That's the maximum. We don't have 2,000 for you, we have 1910. Here you go. I'm pretty sure they'd be happy with it. My personal opinion.
Agreed.
Fair.
If you
Councillor,
want to be over 700, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah.
We can vote on that.
Councillor Cox?
There's only one that I don't agree with reducing, and that's for the Stevenson Memorial Hospital Foundation for the purchase of one new infant bassinet. I think we should give them their full amount. That's the only one. I just don't feel comfortable reducing it just because it's for an infant. I know they do.
State where it was worth. They went for the maximum. This is the slight little account.
Okay. Are there any other comments? So I guess I'll go back to this. We've eliminated 4. Do we wish to go line by line and review these, or are we happy with just saying that we would provide a dollar amount to the applicants and call it a day?
Give them what they asked for.
Give them what they asked for. Add the 700.
I'm fine with that.
We saved 90% of the overage already, so.
All right. So all others would be at their asking, and we'd be over by $700. Council comfortable with that?
Yep.
Okay. So again, 3 parts, just to clarify, and I do appreciate council for doing that so that I could vote on the first one and not have to vote on the 2 and 3. So on the first part, Madam Clerk, can we just remove those without a motion? Or would you like to have those items removed as part of a motion?
Through to your worship, because the main motion is already on the floor, moved in second, a formal amendment would be required.
Okay. All right, so it'd be moved that the Reach and Serve request for $2,000, the Angus Community Run Walk request for $500, the New Tottenham School request for $2,000, and the John Howard Society request for $1,500 be removed. Do I have a mover for that? Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Borzos. All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, so the main motion then would be as amended for part 1. So again, we're accepting the report, approving all other paragraphs as per the funding, save and accept for paragraph 10, 14, and 15. On that motion, all those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, and then I'll turn the floor over to, or the chair over to Deputy Mayor Locks to do the remaining 2 motions, which you would need a mover and seconder for, just to confirm.
Oh, shit, I'm sorry. Recommendation that paragraphs 10 and 11, that council approve grant funding in the amount of $2,000 for the Lyle Hall Recreation Association.
And that would be it for that
And that would
motion.
be it.
Yes.
Can I get a mover? Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor O'Leary. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor? And that is carried. And now I will pass the chair what? I'm still, is that, sorry, oh, sorry. But we've changed it, so.
Perfect. Thank you for your patience, Deputy Mayor Locks. The remaining motion for the last item will be that will read as follows: that $13,100 be funded from the 2026 Community Grants Program budget, and that $2,200 be funded from the Community Grants and Donation Reserve, and that $700 be funded from the Working Fund Reserve in order to fully fund the grant requests.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for that? Councillor Cox, seconded by Councillor Simpson. Any further questions on that? Seeing none. All in favor? And that motion is carried. I will now pass the chair back to Mayor Anderson, to the chair.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Laux. All right, we are on to item 15, which is correspondence. We had one item pulled for correspondence, which was from the consent agenda 13.2, and I'll go back to Councillor Meadows for that item.
Yeah, I just wanted an update from, is there any reason why we didn't send in a letter for that? I know Miss Deborah Hall Chansey wanted an answer to that, so I was just wondering from staff whether we could answer that question for her.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Calamitu.
Excuse me, through your worship, we can definitely look into it and provide comments through the Director of Public Works. So as we move through, I believe it was still open, and unfortunately I can't access it right now, but I believe it's still open for comment, so staff can look into it and provide comment if still open. The RO is still open.
Through your worship.
Councillor Meadows.
If that's the case, I would like to put a recommendation forward that we send in a letter of dismay with that act, because it does take away a lot of the safeguards for our communities, and I have seen them firsthand. I was heavily involved with the gravel pit that we put through. So, yes.
Mr. Calamitu.
Through your worship, my apologies. I thought it was September 25th, 2026, but the comment period was September
so it's done.
25th, 2025.
Oh, okay, so it's done. Then there's no need to, and okay, thank you.
Okay, were there any further questions with regards to this item? Seeing none, so the recommendation is that correspondence from the Ministry of Natural Resources dated June 15, 2026 regarding updates to certain operational policies under the Aggregates Resources Act be received. Moved by Councillor Cox, and seconder, please. Councillor O'Leary, and all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, so we're on to item 16, which is bylaws. So this is the external works agreement bylaw that was considered during the report. Are there any further questions with regards to the bylaw? And seeing none, so the recommendation is that bylaw 2026-031 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an external works agreement between Fireside Homes and the Corporation of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio be enacted. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Cox, seconder, Deputy Mayor Laux. Any further comments or questions? And all those in favor? And that is carried. All right, we're at item 17, notices motion. Councillor Meadows, there is the notice motion that was brought forward at the last council meeting with regards to Concession Road 7 drainage project. It is on the agenda this evening. What are your wishes for this one?
I think, well, that was the, we pretty much got our update on what was come forward, so.
Okay, so you're okay.
I just want to thank staff for bringing it forward, and everybody involved. Hopefully we can get this resolved in a timely manner. It's been long overdue. Like I said, it's been 3 terms of council, so hopefully something can be done. And thank you for bringing the report forward.
Okay, thank you. So you're okay with withdrawing that notice of motion? Okay. So we'll note that, Madam Clerk, that it is withdrawn. All right, item 18 is new business. We had none on the agenda this evening, so we're at the confirmation bylaw. That bylaw 2026-032 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Adjala-Tosorontio at its regular council meeting held on July 8th, 2026 be enacted. A mover, please. Councillor Cox, a seconder, Deputy Mayor Laux. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we are adjourned at 10:15 PM.